Yay!
Hello and welcome to yet another fantastic and fascinating episode of Awkward Sibling Hours, where this week we're going to talk about acts of service as a love language. Yes, it is a love language. Believe it or not. Maybe it's your only love language. Maybe you've never heard of it. All of that could be true because you're neurodivergent and that's why you're here still watching us. So, to help me have this conversation, because I can't, I don't want to be here by myself. All of these fantastic people have very kindly offered to do their active service by showing up and agree to pontificate with me. They are the fantastic and lovable Tom, the talented genius and adorbs Laura, the beautiful, the sunshiny, the incredibly talented writing Megan.
Hello.
All the peoples. All the peoples that were available today, anyway.
Roy wants my salt and vinegar chips.
I bet.
Yummy, of course. I don't blame him. So, acts of service. Does anybody want to give a stab at this one? No? Okay.
Welcome to the service industry of love.
Yes. Kind of is. So, acts of service is the doing of something to show you love someone. Any kind of service. Volunteering at their favorite charity. Going and driving out into the interstate to go pick them up because they have a flat tire or their radiator has exploded or whatever. Or changing their tire. Washing their dishes. Anything that is to be of service. You know, that think about, as Tom says, the service industry. He's not wrong. So but if you really think about it, the goal of showing love through an act of service is, it's not about the end product. Even if there is an end product, it is not about the end product. It is about the act of doing, of giving of your time and energy, maybe your knowledge, like say plumbing, to do. It is about that. Thank you for using your abilities, your knowledge, your time and energy to do something that is the expression of love. And so, yes, I did think of Wesley from The Princess Bride. He says, "As you wish," all the time, when really what he meant is, I love. So, yes, I think Wesley is probably a very good example. And we do see that even after Buttercup has supposedly moved on, he is still showing he loves her by rescuing her from a plot to kidnap and murder her. So he is still showing he loves her, even though he's also incredibly hurt. Because real love doesn't come around just any old day of the week, right?
Like, say real love. That's
I mean, really, you have to remember this from Wesley's perspective. He has, done all of this to try to become a pirate, to be in charge, so he can come back to Buttercup. He finally gets back towards her, and he finds out she's getting married to a prince.
That's right. She's moved up in the world.
But someone's planning to kidnap and kill her, and he's like,
yeah, he still loves her.
He still has to go save her. He has no belief that he is going to get her back. No. He has no belief that she's going to have a change of heart. Like, she's got a prince. He just doesn't want her to die.
She does not have a prince. She has a pig fiance. Let's keep, from his perspective, she has a pig fiance.
I mean, obviously she doesn't have good taste. That's why she was never that interested in him.
Right, of course.
Like, that's what he's feeling. Like, just, let's be honest. He's definitely got the full incel feeling set.
Yes. she is his first love, and feels scorned. But, he still truly loves her. So he's still like, all right, let me go do this thing. And then,
I'll go back to pirating.
Let her know what she's missing out on. Meh.
Hello, sir.
But yes, but acts of service as a form of love can both be to do, but also to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where a lot of miscommunication is. When you hear about relationships deteriorating, it is often because they stop seeing the acts of service each other does as a form of love and affection.
Mm-hmm.
They consider it just an obligation they're doing, and then in no way shows their feelings.
Or that they're just doing normal household chores. Like, hi, you live here too. How is this special?
Mm-hmm.
Legitimate issues that need to be addressed in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not going to take sides on this one. As much as I want to.
But it is kind of weird when they don't value someone keeping the house. Of if you have a all right, since this is not for those under 18.
We do not market to children, not even high schoolers.
But I just remember, this great debate argument, and there's a valid point of, when, Glory's ex would use a certain term derogatory that is, most men's favorite way for gratification.
To receive gratification.
To receive gratification. And he's using it as a derogatory term. It's like, well, if you consider that, something lesser that's beneath anyone, and that, they are not deserving of any respect if they do that, then why are you asking for that of me? You obviously don't have any respect for me then, of this. That is a form of service and love.
I'm not going to say you're wrong.
But it's not the card game.
Right?
So
you already had it, Eva. But yeah, why would you use that term as a derogatory term when you also wish to receive it from your partner? As an act of love, supposedly.
But I mean, we've heard plenty of people over the decades say this as a derogatory, that's a real insult. And it's like, but that's one of your favorite things.
Right. Yeah.
What was it? There was a joke going around for a while, and it probably still going around about, men's favorite holiday, steak and BJ Day.
I made that holiday up.
It continued around the internet, Glory.
I know. It's funny the things that I did that actually took off. I introduced this to Military Times back in the late 90s, early 2000s article. And apparently, since they had internet, since, the military internet actually was one of the first. Yeah. That article. Huh?
DARPANET.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Made her mom. Yep.
I'm reading a book right now. I don't think I can say the title of the book on this channel, but it's a very fascinating look at how we use language to insult women or denigrate women, and not necessarily intentionally for some of the words that we use.
But I mean, it is this whole I'm kind of fascinated by the whole decolonizing your frame of thought concept that's been going around for the last few years. That's and been gaining a nice amount of steam, because it is about why are all these terms derogatory to people just on their own. It's not like this is derogatory in itself, but the way you're using is derogatory. Why is that?
Mhm.
Why is it the home cook is derogatory, but the chef is prestigious?
Good point.
And that is sort of and so that is the difficulty to me with acts of service as a form of love, is the person receiving your service, or the person receiving the service has to also view it as a form of love and affection and effort, and not just obligation. And you have to.
It's like I feel like there's a difference between acts of service and pulling your own weight.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
doing your part of the house upkeep and stuff like that. And then there's acts of service of going above and beyond, like writing a little note to put in the lunch.
I think that's a
Or-
very good point, Laura.
Yeah,
Like, but you know what? Here's the issue that I see a lot of. I'm just going to bite the bullet and say it. Neurotypicals and heterosexuals. Here are their issues I see reflected again and again. Lord, that would require communication between the people of what are normal household chores that is just part of living here, living together,
Mhm.
and what is above and beyond.
Yeah.
Like love notes and so for instance, one of the things since
care packages.
exactly, care packages, one of my former partners, just because I hate mentioning my ex-husband all the time, but just as a former partner, he had his favorite foods that I made, and I gotta be honest, he knew I did not particularly like these dishes that I made for him. He had a very bland palate. I did not care for them very much. But I would make the dishes for him because he loved them, and I considered that an act of service. And he, up until the end, also interpreted it as well as an act of service, as a love language act of service. And that's why I made them, not because I would ever make them on my own. Because again, very bland. Not my deal. But yes, cooking can be an act of service, but you just happen to have an end product you can actually eat, which that's cool.
The other problem with the whole pulling your weight concept, and this is really where the not recognizing acts of service as a form of love is that because of human psychology, and this is tested so many times, you will see this across so many therapists and psychologists and everyone's reference numbers. For the other person to see you pulling your weight, from your perspective, you have to pull 70% of the combined effort.
Mm-hmm.
Both parties have to do a combined, have to do 70% of what they think is the work for the other to feel it is 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just humans everywhere.
I would agree.
And so that is also the difficulty of recognizing, and that is why, it helps to say and acknowledge your appreciation for somebody else's work when they do it.
Yeah.
I'm not taking you for granted. I'm not taking for granted that, you do all the dishes or you're running all the laundry.
And it's also really important to find out the ways that people like to have that appreciation shown to them.
Mm.
Some people, especially folk like me, when we're specifically called out and have nice things said, because of past traumas, makes me feel on the spot like I'm in trouble.
Mm.
And I know a lot of people like that. Like when that spotlight goes right onto me, it's like, oh, what did I do? Am I going to the principal's office? Am I about to get whooped? Like it. And so just a simple thanks, or just, a little, a little nicety for some people says a lot more than, you know, I had one friend that was very self-conscious about being lauded, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And honestly, the most powerful thing you could do is just kind of do that knowing look and nod thing. And that's what they wanted. That's the recognition, like, I see you, I see what you did, good job. But if you said anything to them, they would be like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know, and all the
Yeah.
defensiveness walls would come up.
Yeah, I've known people like that too, where you have to really, you have to be aware of how they're willing to accept the compliment or even the acknowledgement of the kindness, because they are just so uncomfortable with a more traditional way to acknowledge, like just
Well,
say,
you know, true
hey,
outward
thanks.
appreciation.
Yeah,
And some of
and
it
it
is,
does tend to be men, honestly, for
well,
me
it
anyway.
is part of, you know, male indoctrination.
Yeah.
Is the only emotion that's allowed is anger and violence.
Mm-hmm.
And appreciation is rarely done as a form of anger and violence. There is a few times, which is where you often see men being boisterous.
Mm-hmm.
Is like that's the only
Yeah,
safe,
like
accepted way.
like it's like, fellas, is it femme to say thank you? And like, yeah, a lot of men feel it is, at least when I've asked. But it's okay to, like, instead of saying thank you, slap them really hard on the back and walk away. And I've had to learn that language with some people. I'm just like, okay, and you just walk on. And they're like, mm-hmm. And that's it. And it's all grunts. It's like,
And some people are really old school, and if you don't send them a thank you card,
oh God, I hate thank you card.
like, words
I
don't
hate
mean anything if you don't
Please
put
don't.
that effort in to, and you can't just like write a note to them. You have to buy one of those specifically
Yeah,
made
I
thank
know,
you
I
cards.
hate it. Can like, I look.
That was
No.
my grandmother.
Like, yeah, my grandma was the same way, and I eventually, as a teenager, had to have a talk with her of like, Grandma, if you're waiting for actual literal thank you cards from me, you're going to be holding your breath a very long time. Can we just go with a phone call, please?
Yeah.
And she eventually came to understand that and accepted that from her granddaughter. A phone call is my version, because I also did not particularly like to talk on the phone. But a phone call to thank her is my version of a thank you card, just accepted as that. But because she loved me, she was willing to meet me there. Because like, oh God, y'all, I hate thank you card. I hate writing thank you cards so much. You don't know. I hate. They're so upsetting. Like, talk about all of my social anxiety rolled into one ball.
Brian is
Like, I've
literally
got
reading your sermon. He's in the kitchen having lunch and just going, preach, amen, sister, preach.
like the anxiety over the card itself, the handwriting, the wording, not making any flubs, and having to do a new card. Like, there's so much. So I have to like practice it several times on paper before I write it on the card, y'all. So Grandma accepted that it takes me an hour to write a tiny 3-line thank you card, versus couldn't we just spend that hour with us talking on the phone to express my appreciation? Like, I'll talk for an hour about it, but don't maybe write out a nice 3-line thank you card. So Eva says, give me an SASE. What is that? Is that
Self-addressed stamped envelope.
Self-addressed stamped envelope. If you want a thank you card, I'll get the card, but it won't get mailed otherwise. I'll do a thank you text from it. Exactly. Oh, and also, hello, Spence. I was in a moment. Hello.
And that's where it's important to understand how to gauge both how much effort you feel the relationship is worth. Do you have that conversation? Like, one of my friends that I can think of who is a thank you card person, who is oddly younger than me, because it is something I associate with older generations as well. Their relationship it's fine, but the effort to like fight over, like, can I just text you? It's just, I have a box of thank you cards just for them. That I just bought a box of them, and it's not worth the effort.
again, like Spence saying, don't make me say thank you with my face. Let me write you a card or bake you something. I think like when you genuinely share any kind of love, and hey Everett, that you negotiate that. I will say that is what my research into the BDSM community taught me is just go ahead and have those conversations with the other person of, hey, this thing that you love, it is so hard for me. Can we negotiate somewhere in the middle to meet on this? Like Spence, who's like, look, I don't want to say thank you with my face. Could I just give you something and you know that is my way of saying thank you? And the answer is absolutely. As long as I don't have to write the note, that is fine. Let's see. Eva says, I like to show love and acts of service. I'll donate my time often for this cause. Yes. But it's like when we're talking about friendships, really any relationship, figuring out if you don't have a mutual love language, then how do you like set up sort of a Rosetta Stone to how to interpret their acts and what you're doing, what they're doing as love languages.
And we all have that one friend that requires a flow chart.
Oh God, yes, we do. Especially if you're neurodivergent, you're gonna have neurodivergent friends, which means there's gonna be a flow chart eventually. It's true. It's true. And honestly, like one of the biggest helps for neurodivergent folks is to have you have a new neurodivergent friend. Be sure to introduce them to your other neurodivergent friends so they can ask for translation help. So it's not just them guessing because not going to guess well. Eva says, on behalf of picky eaters, I am so sorry, Spence.
Yeah.
Spence says, I can't explain how frustrating it is that my sister-in-law is so set in her ways and stubborn and only likes her own food. I want to shower her in treats, but every time I'm like, would she like this? And Noah's like, probably not, or I don't know. I just need one thing I can make her that would make her happy. Mood.
Well, if there's one thing that I wish all cishet people would take from the queer community, it's that all of our relationships start in a phase of negotiation, because we've been in the outside for so long. There aren't as many stereotypes for us to easily slot into, and even the stereotypes that do exist have very specific nuances to them that need to be understood and negotiated as well. So with every friendship I have, especially from the more activist things that I do, starts with a lot of not just getting to know each other, not just talking, but so is this okay? Like I'm a very touchy, huggy person, and just saying that right from the get go, I'm a very touchy, huggy person. Are you touch repulsed? Do you not like this? Do I need to make sure that I'm not that I'm not offering you hugs because that would make you uncomfortable, and doubly uncomfortable because you feel rude saying no? And this is just part of the common language in a lot of these groups when we start meeting people, is this kind of negotiation of what are the norms, what is the nature of this relationship that we are having, what things are we wanting to talk about together, what things are we not, where are we going. And it may sound very formal, it really isn't. It's just part of that getting to know each other. I'm from the Ozarks. Sweetie, Hun, and Child are really ingrained in the way that I talk to people. Some people find these terms extremely demeaning, insulting, and rude.
It's true.
So it is important for me, especially when dealing with somebody I want to be a friend, to say right off the bat, hi, I'm from the Ozarks. I like to say sweetie, honey, and child all the time, and it don't mean it as an insult. Do you find it as one so I can put you in the box in my brain that says never call sweetie, honey, or child? Because, am I allowed to call you girl?
What about a sweet honey child?
Oh, I said that to somebody once that I really shouldn't have, and that was an explosion.
Yep.
But like
that one can be triggering.
Yeah.
For people.
I'm of the generation where my closest friends are all girl. Like you just, hey girl, how you doing today, girl? And that's just the generation that I grew up in. And this was a very interesting and nuanced conversation with a trans masc friend of mine, because I did not want him to think I was misgendering him,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew and respected him. And it was so funny because he just looked at me and said, "Oh, sweet honey child, I know who you are. It's fine." But you have to have that conversation, because that is also an act of service in and of itself, because it shows, look, I care about you so much. I don't want to accidentally endanger our relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they're unwilling to talk to you about these things, they don't
Yes.
see the relationship as important as you do.
That is the hard lesson I have learned as well. Spence says, the purpose of hugs is to give comfort. If the absence of hugs gives you comfort, I'll do that instead.
Yep. I'm very much a hugger. That is my act of service when I go out to public events. There are those people that know that I am a hugger and know that they have carte blanche permission, and I'm like Santa at the mall. I cannot sit at a table. There must be room on the lap, because people will just come over, sit down, tell me their problems, tell me their concerns, put their head on my chest for a minute, get a big old hug, and then go about their day, because they know that I'm that kind of a person, and I am okay with this. Other people who don't know me that well, who are interested in getting to know me better, will often stop and go, "What is this all about? What is going on here?"
Or they spend the whole time staring to see my reaction.
Yes, or they spend the whole time staring to see Brian's reaction, because they're like, "Whoa, Charlie's got a lot of girl and boyfriends around here. What's going on?" No, I just have a lot of friends. In my world, friends hug.
Yeah. And again, physical acts of touch is another love language. It's just about figuring out, like, so again, like, one of my primary love languages is gifts. I love to make baked goods and other treats for people. And one of my friends has had to learn, just accept the baked good, okay? Just accept it. Just take it home, and you don't have to tell me if you throw it out, although it would be better if you didn't. And just accept it. If you love me, you'll just take it. Let me give you the thing.
Because we talk
Sorry,
about this
having
a
some
lot.
network problem.
Yeah. Don't worry, y'all. Tom will always be back. Otherwise, I'll yell at him down the hallway. What are you doing? What's going on? Well, let's see. Eve says my dog doesn't like to hug, but he loves me despite my insistence.
You know, we talk a lot about how humans are pack animals. Like, this is who we are. And there have been a lot of studies that show that touch is, especially for children and infants, really important, which is why they insist on holding children.
Mm-hmm. Ding dong ditch bait good. Yeah, okay. Literally, Tom did that for me. What, about a week ago? About a week and a half ago. It was like, yeah. Yes. In fact, ding dong ditch her house.
The two things that I would abolish if I...
This is what you all have to deal with if you live near me. Is ding dong ditch baked goods.
That sounds like a delightful problem that I wish I had.
I just wish
I
people
don't care
understood.
if it's not true in real life.
How do I pray to get this problem?
We have so many wings,
Like,
y'all.
there's a
You need to
backbone
come to my
internet here,
house.
Laura. Just come move.
Here's the two problems though I face with this. I have noticed is one, if I give you an insulated bag, I do need it back within a week or two. And two, if you do not respond at minimum with, some positive words of encouragement for it, I'm not doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
I've had friends that I gave them smoked meats and I haven't heard anything back from them about it.
Yeah, not even a thank you, or we ate
I don't
it.
understand that, because I have not received your smoked meats, but I have watched your videos of the smoked meats, like sometimes on repeat, because that is one of my love languages.
Oh, is that how the numbers are going up? Okay, that makes sense.
Those are not exclusively me. But
It's not exclusively made. That's what you think. No, teasing. I'm teasing.
Just 90%.
Speaking of, I'll be right back. I got to go.
Yeah,
put
Tom's
some
got
meat.
the smoker going right now, y'all.
say it again.
I was going to ask Tom, did he get a thank you at least at the time he handed him the meat, or was it just silence all the way through?
Oh, they refer to themselves as a what was it? A disposal for food or something. They'll take anything. But no, they did not actually say thank
But
you.
they didn't say thank you. I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that when
yeah.
Tom told me the story, and I was like,
Yeah.
And they essentially just went, "I have no real sense of taste or care, so whatever," is what I really got from them.
See, I would at least say thank you at the time of receiving.
Exactly.
I might not say something later on because unfortunately I was raised with silence means you did a good job. Just terrible. It's not how
But mostly just later reference to, "Did you like it?" And what is it? What because it was a couple different things. So like, what would you like more of?
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Look, y'all, I've got a lot of friends that are pagans, and thank God for Google and cell phones, because they will hand me a thing and ask me what I think about it, and I have to very quickly, like, what in the hell is this? Because I don't know. I don't know I'm not familiar with the tradition that they're a part of. I don't know what this thing. Like, did you give me a pickle or did you give me a spell jar? I don't know. There's a lot of like plant matter in here, and
I agree. I feel the same way about pagans. Of like, oh,
Is this for eating?
Is this something for eating or decoration or protection?
And I
oh,
don't
wait,
want to hurt.
glitter.
I don't want to hurt their
Does this
feelings.
look like edible glitter? I've had that happen a couple times
Yeah.
and be like, oh, is this a decoration or like a ward?
I have chewed on a few window decorations in my day.
It's difficult to know sometimes.
Or oranges, it's like going to confuse me.
Oh, this time of year is really tricksy because
Yes.
you get the orange wheels, and there are three kinds of orange wheels. There are those that are designed to be added to your tea or other hot beverage and will add flavor to it. There are others that are just there to be decoration and to heat up in the sunlight and bring a wonderful citrusy smell to your house. And then there are those by your friends that hate you and don't warn you ahead of time that they lacquer them so that they will never fall apart, and they don't tell you that they did it. And so they're just there to be pretty.
No, there's the last kind, the candied ones that you're actually supposed to eat.
Yeah.
But it's just as glazed and glossy as the ones that hang in the window.
Just as glossy as the shellacked ones.
Yeah.
And those shellacked ones.
God love pagans, but they really need to come with like a translation, like Chiron.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just know most of them don't mind when they hand you something. You go, oh, is this edible? Because
what is the purpose? What is this?
Yes.
So many gifts I have received that I did not know were edible. And when I was introduced to the sticks that we were talking about the other day, like the bourbon sticks and stuff, I did not know if I had been given a divination set of some sort because it was just random sticks. Like they just handed me a thing of random sticks.
Did it tell you what they what
really
the instructions? Nothing.
Yeah, what are these for divination? Are these those like yard stakes that are been blessed that you just poke into the yard to bring good good woo to the house? What are these? And when they finally told me, like, you put them in your beverage and it makes it taste like magic, I'm like, wait, what?
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of, Tom will be coming out with an article soon about making your very own flavor sticks. So be sure you're subscribed to our newsletter.
I am.
Just saying. Because I recently found the article Tom wrote.
Nice.
I found it
Or
Saturday.
at least I think I am. I should be.
Yeah, if you're subscribed to From the Desk of Glory Think, then you'll get, and you haven't unsubscribed from the others, you'll then automatically get. Because we're going to send that out under Tom's Digest since Tom wrote it. So Tom's nonfiction articles will come out. Because I found that. I found one that he wrote about dating apps and how to assess them and use them to their best. Because like he's actually studied that. I found some of his other articles. Like he mostly writes nonfiction. So we're still working on a name for his fiction stuff. But yes, just say, hey, if you are interested in Tom's nonfiction, guys, I found some articles he's already written. So
Nice.
As his editor, I'm sending this nonsense out soon. It's gonna be great. I do like that, Spence. What's the best way to go about utilizing this?
Yes,
Thank you for this gift. How shall I utilize it?
but either way, even if you don't subscribe, and this is where I have this is one of my picadillos. So it's when people get very uppity about other people's beliefs. Like, even if I don't subscribe to your belief system, if you put work and effort into a thing, as long as you're not trying to beat me over the head and tell me I'm evil, damnable, and going to hell,
Or poison me.
or poison me, I can see the work that you put into the thing, and that work is the gift that is being given, as well as all of the sentiments and other associations that they have with it. If it's something that you don't understand, I remember the first time a couple pagan friends of me made me those rolled up beeswax candles in the 90s. And they were pretty, and they all had very specific scents to them because they knew I liked scented candles. And when I asked them about it, the joy in their face, where they got to explain how they picked all of the scented oils that went into it, how they actually had a friend who had a apiary and that harvested the wax, and how the wax sheets were made, and them getting to tell the story, the epic quest to put all of these components together, was something that brought them even more joy and was part of the whole gift exchange, because they could see my appreciation in not only, hey, lovely scented candles, but the interest in what it took for them to make it, and just being there with with them. Because I think like that is the core of so much of being of service to others, is just listening. Because we talk a lot about like doing things for other people, and one of the most important things that we can do is just be someone there to listen. A lot of people in this world feel unheard, unloved, unnecessary to their lives in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, and not calling anybody out in chat, but especially the moms out there, just asking, how are you doing today? And then quietly listening and chiming in the, oh girl, when appropriate, or whatever appropriate phrase comes in. Like, he did what? Like, just knowing exactly when to add those little, exclamations in. That is such a great act of service, because if we don't vent, it all gets bottled up. That's why we call it venting. And it will explode somewhere.
Yeah.
So just being there to listen and accept whatever it is that they have to offer without judgment, because that's usually why they're not talking to other people about it, is they're afraid that they will be judged for however they're feeling. And to me, actions can be judged, opinions not so much.
I'll say one of the most valuable lessons I ever learned as a neurodivergent person maintaining friendships is learning to, at the start of a story, someone wants to talk about their day or what's been going on the past few months, is to quickly halt them for just a moment and ask, do you want me to just listen and vent, or do you want to hear my opinions?
Yes.
And, I just need to know which, so you don't, because
I would say this is doubly important for if you're listening to anybody who, how do I say, is not a cishet white person. Cishet white identifies as man. Like, so, but I would include, like, think about everybody else who gets criticized and oppressed constantly, marginalized, all of that. Women, trans folks, not anybody who does not adhere to normal binary genders. Like, everybody of color, everybody, immigrants, everybody else is constantly criticized, marginalized, and oppressed. And so it's even more important to like definitely start a conversation with, is this, do you just need me to listen, or are we also looking for solutions? Because sometimes, often, they need one person to just non-judgmentally listen and not like give commentary about how they could have approached it differently. Because like, I used to think the only way to vent to somebody was to also have to put up with their commentary of my venting story. When I was in my early 20s, I thought the only way was, so often I tried to bottle it up and not share, and it was driving me nuts. But it was because I did not know there was another way. I did not know there was another way for the listener to keep their mouth shut, let alone to be a supportive listener who's just like, gosh, oh, good for you for not going to jail. Yes, good. Like, I need the good girl stuff for not, actually acting on my felonious urges.
Amen.
Because there's no real, at least in the modern Western world that I deal in, there is no catchphrase or way to demark that this is I need you to validate me, or I need assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Or I need you to first validate me, and then I will decide if I need assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've also dealt with a couple times.
Yes, I agree. But listening is a vital act of service. Yes. Spence says, "Oh Lord, the relief when you figure that out with each other." Yes.
I feel like so my sister, who's married with 2 kids,
mm-hmm.
doesn't get to talk to adults a lot during the day. So it's like, I'm just the person that she could call throughout the day and talk to, because I'm not in an office. So it's nice being able to just talk whenever. And I don't know if that's service, but
yeah, no, listening is a service.
It's an effort still.
Yeah, listening is an act of service. You are still using up your time, your mental energy to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I want to
broaden out the idea, Laura, to like even what we do on like Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday fun days. That is an act of service. We're there for each other. Whatever anybody has to share, be it a silly video or a tragedy that's happened in their lives, or an accomplishment that they're proud of, or a problem that they're trying to work through, or just sitting there with each other. That is all us doing an act of service with and for each other. Mm-hmm. It's one of those sweet forms of mutual aid that goes unseen, because there's part of us that's like, well, isn't that just the way things should be? And yes, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Just being there with each other, there so often has to be an agenda. Like, what are we doing tonight? Are we going to be going to this restaurant? Are we going to a movie? Are we going to a concert? Are we
starting a revolution?
Right.
I need to take my shoes if we're doing that. Okay.
Because
let me go get my walking running shoes.
That's how I know the difference between like my real friends and my acquaintances. Real friends, we hang out together. We might agree on a place to go, but we're just there to see what happens. We may have a specific goal, but a goal is not required. Acquaintances will not show up if there is not an actionable plan that they are wanting to participate in.
Yes.
Ever.
That is what I have learned as well, at least in my experience too. I feel like this is probably the time to mention, like, we were actually talking about it backstage before the show, but the way Tom and I were raised by our parents is that to be of service is the best thing you as a human being can do, to be of service to other humans. And so we just considered it, this is what people who are trying to be good do. And it caused confusion because other people that I was friends with and maybe eventually married, they considered it a love language and not just how to be a good person. And so that caused all sorts of communication problems and relationship issues for me. Because some people wanted to be praised every time they loaded the dishwasher like they just invented the wheel. And I'm like, this is
Even
just
it is their night.
right. Like, no, they consider they never had a night and that they
Mhm.
just chose when to load the dishwasher, and they should be praised to the Almighty every time, as if somehow they did not help dirty the dishes. But okay, whatever. And I'm happy to thank people for doing stuff, but not like the level of praise I was expected to give. And it definitely caused issues because, again, I just thought, here's the thing: everybody comes out of their family of origin thinking most other families are like theirs. This is just human psychology, and especially teenagers, they're going to come out of into the world that way of like, don't we all search for the pickle on Christmas? Don't we all go dumpster diving for Christmas trees? Whatever it is that your family does, you come out of your family thinking that most people do this or do some variation on it, and that is not necessarily true. And that was my fallacy. One of my many fallacies coming out of my family was, it's not being of service just what everybody strives to do all the time.
To be considerate
To be
of others.
considerate, to be thoughtful, to only give help that people want, not the help they don't want. Like, ma'am, I did not ask you to come in my house to clean it. Please go away. Of it, like, to be of service is the highest thing a living person could reach, was how we were raised. So
Yes.
it is important to be aware. Yes, Eva says love language doesn't mean romantic love language or commitment language. And being totally indifferent would be sociopathic, right? Oh no. For me, it was, oh, you see your family regularly. Yes. Let's see. Eva says, I know my real friends because when I have heavy news and look at my phone for who to reach out to, they are the only possible choices. So it's just something to be aware of, that I feel like, especially for neurodivergent folks, probably getting familiar with, like, right now in our culture, love languages is part of the vernacular. It is a fad. It is a trend like everything else. In 20 to 40 years, we'll be using some other terms and some other listicle and so on and so forth. Probably. But in the meantime, this is it. And there's also, before this was, like, from my father's time. Remember, my father was born in 1940. And my father's age group, it was the Greek loves. There's like agape and there's eros, and I don't remember all of them. He gave me a book to read when I was a teenager so I would understand where he was coming from.
He loves agape and eros.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there's actually like 60 different.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Tom told me
Those
there's
are the
like
three
a
main ones.
ton.
There's 6 main ones that they talk about, but there's actually like 60 total. It's like, so what's the usage for it? They all got their own name.
So, like, it's just whatever is the current trend to discuss how to express love to people. Having that conversation with somebody who really seems like, how do I say, a keeper? Not necessarily romantic or anything, and not necessarily friendship, whatever it is, whatever that relationship is. Of if they seem like a keeper, someone you just really connect with, that having that conversation of what makes you feel loved and what do you do when you feel love? What do you want to do? Because I need to know where you're coming from, and you definitely need to know where I'm coming from. In fairness, though, by the way, before I married him, I did explain my family's philosophy of to be of service is the highest thing a human can attain on this plane of existence. For real, that's how I was raised. And he knew it, and still, anyway. So it's not like I wasn't trying. Some people you just cannot communicate well with, is what I've learned. So, but having that can definitely help. Obviously, in my case, it does not always work. And in that case, cut and run.
Yep.
I'm telling younger Glory around age 23, just cut and run, babe. Just cut and run. Oh, she was so stubborn though. She was like, I can make this work. No.
Well, see, this is one of the reasons why I both dread and look forward to the day that the cishet world finds out about ace arrow people, because a lot of what we're talking about here is we're dancing around allonormativity and in all of its forms. This idea that all relationships have this end goal of either romance or sex. And this is so ingrained in our society that, oh, you're showing interest in me, you must want to either date me or have sex with me. And that's no, that's not healthy, nor is that
it's really creepy to view the world through only like sexual interaction. Because even in the cishet world, romance always must lead to sexual interaction. You cannot have a romantic friendship. I've had this conversation with so many cishets, and it's like, let me tell you about this other world. I say, as a demi-romantic, of like, let me tell you about this fantastic world called friendship. And nobody has to, like, bump uglies. Like, you can just be friends and give each other happies, and it's totally fine, and nobody wants to strip down. It's lovely.
Unless you're new.
And they're like, what is this foreign thing that you, where did you learn this? Greece? Where is it? They're like, no.
But this is a big problem in our culture where all acts of intimacy are seen as transactional. That you're trying to get something from me. You're trying to win my favor. Like, no, this isn't a jousting tournament and you ain't a princess, okay? Like, that is not what's going on here. But we have reduced our, and when I say we, I'm not saying like us here, I'm just saying culturally and societally, have reduced all intimate relationships to this transactional, well, of course we're going to get married one day. Why? Not all relationships end in marriage. Not all romantic relationships are destined for lifelong experiences. Some are, some aren't. That's fine. But getting to the place where you can start having these conversations with yourself, because it'll might surprise you what allonormative BS has gotten credit up inside your brain when you start picking it apart. And I like, not to be all self-pluggy or whatnot, but it's why I did the most recent episode of Project Shadow. I saw everybody talking about the love triangle in Wednesday Addams, or shipping her with Enid, or all of this, and I'm just like, I didn't see her have interest in anyone. Why must she, because she teenage girl, be looking for a relationship? And it bothered me that wasn't. I saw no one else proposing this as an option, because of course teen is looking for a relationship.
Yeah,
and that's where our culture suffers, and why talking about like acts of service and all the things we're doing with the love languages are so important, because they shouldn't be commodified like that.
I will give an interesting book recommendations if you want to see real alternatives. And yes, they're older, and there's a little bit of some problematic, but it's over 60 years old. Okay, at a certain point, just deal with culture. But Heinlein really went into what are the different types of possible human relationships that could work in a society of, that's more than an individual or two people what are other alternatives? And so, like his Lazarus Long stuff, you see corporate families where instead of you marrying one individual, you essentially marry into the family like it used to be in feudal times. Is more of what you saw, like you married into the village. And it's so everyone else also has a bit of an opinion on do you join or not. And we also saw, and he goes in a couple other relationship types as well of it's not a new question, and this is not the only way humans work. This is a very narrow, specific time that this culture has created. There are tons of ways humans have functioned in groups over millennia. And many of them were very functional for long, decades, centuries at a time. And there's nothing wrong with those. But it is easy to go with, but my culture functions, it means it's the best way. It's the newest way, so it must be the best. Not necessarily, it's just a different way.
There's a lot of ways to get to Rome.
Yes. And there could be a best way, but it's a best for a very specific series of situations. And so, yeah, we need to know our own individual situations, what we need and want to do. Because there's definitely people who have differences in, the ways they want to give affection and receive affection.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure you match and mesh with others. Like, speaking of hugs and stuff, especially since I went to massage school, I have to warn people that I am not anti-touch, but I am very self-conscious about touch. And I'm especially self-conscious about touching other people. Because if I do not pay attention and I leave my hand on someone, that hand will start massaging wherever it is.
And it will inevitably find the knot.
And it's not in any way kind of romantic or sexual or anything. This is just
clinical.
My hand
clinically wants to remove your knot, and it is not the hand does not ask for consent. So all of a sudden it's like, ow, Tom, that's the bone.
And so it's not that I am anti-touch or touch repulsed. It's just I have to be careful, and I don't want to make others uncomfortable. And I just have to let them know, there's no simple way to bring that in. At just a certain point, I have to tell people. I mean, look, this is just me. It's not anyone else. And it's not some weird way to get away with things. It's just if I don't pay attention to my hands will just start going, how are the muscles? Are they all happy?
Yeah, they just start groping your back, if not a hug.
And
I'm like, are you looking for the broad line? What's happening here?
If you're
no, it just feels tense.
I will seek out all of your pain spots.
Yes.
Exacerbate them to the point where you feel like you are about to die, and then achieve a relief that will make you wonder if you will ever move that part of your body again.
It's like soft touch, Tom. Soft touch.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep. The hands have been educated, but the mind is off wandering around somewhere else. It's called ADHD.
I dated a masseuse for a while, and it was dangerous because I have very bad legs and hips. And what I would think was it's like start of sexy time, like hands on my hips turned into, why can I never walk again? Why did you turn my legs into jelly? And him going off into the kitchen to cook food. But why though? Why did you strand me on the couch? I'm making crepes and you were stressed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's pretty much it. All right. How about we go for a breaky break? And
go for a snack.
Yes. And when we come back, what will we talk about, y'all? Anybody have opinions? Nothing?
I have all of the opinions, but probably.
What are your opinions, Charlie? What do you got?
How about how to receive service?
Yes.
How to receive like a gracious person that you're not.
Let's talk about the stuff you learned in the lifestyle, Glory.
Things I've learned in the lifestyle. Sure. All right. Well, we'll see y'all in approximately 10 minutes. Is this a wonderful time to get something to drink? Perhaps. Maybe a snacky snack? Maybe. We'll see you soon.
Wins.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. Welcome, welcome. All right. Just ready for show and tell? Brian,
Yeah.
come to the screen. Oh, God, it's heavy.
Oh, those are gorgeous.
Let us do this slow roll here.
In case you want to see, like, how that's all just smoke.
Yeah, it's
There's
Tom
what the
doesn't
chicken
use he doesn't use molasses or anything to color it.
Well, also just if you see that section right there in front, you can see what the normal chicken color would be.
Oh my goodness.
I need some of that in my life.
You do. You definitely do. He kept Cassie alive for 3 extra years, y'all. What is this? Is this beef?
Yeah. I don't know what part of beef. Like it's something fatty and like
delicious.
Yummy.
Yes, there's the smoked chicken breast. It smells like heaven. I was asking Tom what the wood was, and it's actually a blend of woods.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, there's plenty for everybody. Get your butts over here.
Like,
If
seriously.
only you were closer.
I'm happy to say 2 of us are going to be in San Diego. If you want to down a lot over.
Yeah.
I have unfortunately done that drive a couple times. That's a 36-hour drive, y'all. And also going through the hell of both the gap between San Antonio and El Paso, and then just the hell that is Indio, California.
Yeah. That's where we got stuck. Basically.
I swear it's a portal to hell. I swear. How is it possible to have such a big city and all the food is terrible? How is that a thing?
It's cursed.
It is cursed. I genuinely believe this. It's so cursed that I've now done this drive so many times that I am like, before like the truck stop or whatever we stop at before we get to Indio, I'm like, load up on snacks because we are not stopping in Indio. Go pee now because we are not stopping. Because I have learned the hard way. It is only disgusting, sticky bathrooms that smell like raw sewage and the worst food I have ever eaten on the planet. Do you know how bad that has to be? I have traveled the world, y'all. I have eaten at better holes in the walls in countries that like did not have running water than Indio, California. Hello, Jen.
I don't doubt it.
Says, I'm so hungry looking at that. Hi, everyone. Yes. It's Monday, so that's when Tom does all of his like chores for the week for some reason. That's when he runs the washing machine, the dishwasher. He smokes the meat. He takes out the trash. He does all the things Monday before and during the show because Monday is his home day. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, I just got here with a bowl of mushroom ravioli. Yum, yum, yum.
Where's my bowl?
Yeah. So what you eating, Megan?
Chips. They're chili lime ruffles.
Yum. Num, num, num.
They're satisfying me.
Not the same as smoked chicken, right?
Yeah, it's a little disappointing after looking at the smoked meat, but
it smelled really good too, I have to admit. Like, as I said, Tom doesn't use molasses in his brine or anything. Mm-hmm. So that's just pure smoked goodness. So I'm thinking of taking at least 1 or 2 of those chicken breasts and making a southern chicken salad with the smoked chicken breast.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. I'm just in a spreadable kind of mood.
So I realized during the break
Together.
that
Go on and deal with the fire. He literally comes in here with a small fire extinguisher. He's like, "Give me a moment." All the creosote just lit. Like,
oh no.
oh God, go deal with the creosote. Like, yes, like I can hear a crackling outside.
Oh my.
And it's in the rain though, so again, because it's nonstop raining outside.
Oh wow.
If it were like what 10 degrees colder, it would be a blizzard. It's
Wow.
raining that much. Everett says, Stephanie, that sounds so good. It does. Mushroom ravioli sounds tasty. So, receiving acts of service. How to be
The impossible task.
How to be the gracious person that you're not really. How to fake it.
It's really tricksy for me because I'm not going to say that there wasn't any love and affection in my family because my sister is someone who exists, but there wasn't a plethora of this experience. It was not a common thing, and it has for me been really tricksy to not have suspicions when people say nice things. Like, poor Brian figured this out when we first got together because he knew my favorite ice cream and he picked it up for me, and I went into a full-blown panic because that was something I only ate on my birthday and holidays, because any other time it was brought to me without prompting, somebody died.
Oh wow.
Or something bad happened, and this was like here, let me put you in a good mood before I say the bad thing. So, it was very difficult for me to learn to accept random acts of kindness without being like, oh, what terrible thing happened? What bad thing is? What are you buttering me up for? What are you trying to brace my fragile emotional state for?
Right. What terrible thing has happened that you're trying to soften it with my favorite ice cream?
Yes.
So we would do something nice for our parents as kids. They'd go like, "What do you want?"
Well, now that you mention it.
Heather says, during that break I read in the original Save the Cat book, I'm at the bus stop today. We're heating up leftovers for dinner. Pot roast. Yum, yum, yum.
Ooh, yummy.
So I understand what you're saying. Like,
The outside got well charred. It went from 156 to,
because it was in an open flame.
Yeah, it was in, a flame that's like degrees.
What is it?
Shoulder.
It's beef shoulder.
I would still eat it probably.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna open this baby up and I'm gonna eat it. Will I eat the outside? Only if it tastes good.
I mean, it was only charred for like 5 minutes, but essentially it was broiled.
I have to be honest, it actually smells good on the outside.
Yeah, it essentially got broiled, flame broiled real quick.
And I have a weakness for Whoppers, so I guess I need to make some hoagie rolls.
Ooh.
You'll see how the smoker is afterwards.
Oh, God.
Time to get out the plywood and the duct tape.
It's healing.
Yeah, that flame will do that.
So it'll probably be fine in a day or so, but it's like I took pictures so you can see how hot it was on the inside after I put out the flames. And it's just all, what do you call it? With smoldering.
Yes. Yes, Leia Kitty is sniffing the air like, what is that smell of crisp beef?
I'm not staring daggers at my husband at all. There are no silent accusations going on because I'm saying them out loud right now.
I will say that, like, when my parents were not in the middle of battling mental illnesses, because they were both bipolar, so that made it fun. But bipolar people with both HD, that was a wild ride of a childhood. But when either of them was not in the middle of a cycle of either depression or manic, they both did try to do little acts of love. And so it did not feel as foreign to me growing up to do little things, but I did learn when I was in the education program that I still was not doing enough little acts with my students to satisfy their daily needs for little acts of love in order to feel loved. So what that is, science, of course, has studied this. And for every negative, like you didn't do your homework, you're going to have to turn in home, this sort of a critique of you're not doing enough, you're not doing the right thing, or here you failed this test or whatever. For every negative correction, a child needs to receive 5 to 8 acts of approval or love in order for it not to hinder the growth of their brain. And when I started adding up how many positives I did for each correction, I was still only averaging 3 to 5 with each student. Because I had 20 to 30 students, depending on the class I was teaching. And so I had to start learning to do it a lot more and be able to fit it in a lot more throughout the day with my students, because I knew that when they went home, they were not getting any positive stuff. Like, I would talk to them. I would talk to them individually and as a group. How many, like literally I made a homework assignment was go home, and every time someone says anything nice or positive to you, make a little hash mark, a little. And when you come in tomorrow, I'm going to ask each of you to put on your name and on a piece of paper and fold it up and hand it to me, put it in my basket. And then I will figure that out. And by the end of the week, I'll have like general class statistics. Like, nobody's name is mentioned, but what are the average number of positive interactions each student had that day, that kind of thing. Because I was trying to show them how to do field surveys anyway. And I found out that my students were averaging 0 to 1 positive interaction each day at home. And so I knew that meant I needed to pretty much carry the load of 5 to 8 positive interactions for each correction. Because I then had them go home and mark down how many negative or critiques. Anytime they felt a little sad or they felt they were criticized, to mark them. And they're getting they were averaging 8 to 17 a night just on school nights. So I knew I had to really pump this up. And that is what got me in the habit of just throughout the day saying thank you, and then coming by and just touching the shoulder. So the shoulder right here is considered by Americans to be the safest place to touch a person without it feeling threatening or sexual. So it's a neutral, safe place to touch a person right here. Right here. So not the shoulder and not near the elbow. It's right here. If you feel, that's where, your bicep is right here. That is the spot that you can touch people, including children, and nobody feels threatened or coerced or anything. So I had to learn that. And I had a classroom talk actually first before I did this about, hey, so, and I told them about the study and that how children need to grow. And I was like, so if you're okay with it, one of the things I thought I could start doing is when I walk by to just pat you on the arm, if that's okay. And if you don't want that, please make me a note and put it in my basket, my daily basket of notes, put in there, and I'll read it at the end of the day. And I will make a mental note not to touch you. Also, I made it clear to them that anytime they want a hug, they can just come up to me and say, Miss Fink, and they can either show me the hug position, or they can say, Miss Fink, can I have a hug? And even in the, like, as long as I'm not up in front of the board actively instructing, giving instructions, they could come up to me no matter where I am, and I will just hug them while I continue to do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
To help give me more opportunities to give them those acts of love. And that is what got me in the habit of, in my own personal life, actually doing it so much more as well. It improved the quality of all of the relationships that matter to me. Because like in our family growing up, my parents just did not touch us much. And like, they did not touch us the way I wanted to be touched. I'll put it that way. Because I don't like constant bear hugs, because I need to breathe. And the way my parents bear hugged, it was very uncomfortable. They were very strong people. And, it's like, I can't breathe. My mother had a very generous chest, y'all. It was like, I don't want to drown in that, And that my father just really wasn't aware of how strong he was. So, but like that lighter, just a pat on the shoulder, not on the shoulder, but on the arm right here on the bicep. After we did it for a week, we tried it as an experiment in our class. Again, I was like still going over the how to do surveys and how to do field reports and how, like, yes, this was for third graders, but look, you're never too young to learn how to conduct science. This is what I believe. And so after a week, I then gauged, how did you feel about your random pats on the shoulder from Miss Fink? Overall, did you feel that they were neutral or positive or negative? Did you feel anything else? How did you feel in the moment? And overall, and I had them before theorize how they would feel. And most of them thought they would feel negative to neutral. And yes, at the end of the week, all of them, even the kids who thought they hated touch and who had asked me not to touch them, and then changed their mind and sent me another note throughout the week. Never mind, I want to try it out. Just for the last 2 days, kind of thing. They all said they felt neutral to positive about it. In fact, all of them, even the ones who said neutral, when I actually asked for further clarification from the class about it, was like, well, actually, now that everybody's talking about what positive feels like, I guess I actually felt positive, which I thought was hilarious from 8-9-year-olds. But I was like, yeah, they weren't used to positive touch. So at first they were reticent because, yes, understandable. But once they started receiving positive, reassuring touch, they actually really liked it. And several of them said how they looked forward to it. They knew every single day Miss Fink's going to touch you at least once, just like pat you or rub your shoulder, your bicep at least once or twice throughout the day. And you never know when it's going to come. But when it comes, it always just makes your day bright. And that was like what one of my students wrote as her review of it. And I was just like, "Aw!" But it also made me realize how little these babies were getting touched in a positive, safe way. And that everybody needs it. So, like, I try to pat Tom as well. I also try to pat the cat. I used to try to pat the dog. Again, because I didn't grow up with that. So I wasn't used to it. But I would like to, even though I know we're not talking about physical touch, we'll be talking about it later. And we are talking about the frequency thing. And just like start thinking in your own life, how many times a day can you like squeeze in another communication of love to everyone you interact with? It could be just sending a meme to a coworker. It could be patting someone on the shoulder as you walk by, just a walk by patting as they're doing their chore or whatever. But how can you just put in those little things throughout the day to reassure them that, essentially you're here with them instead of just ships passing in the night constantly?
It's so important that we don't underestimate what these random acts of service can do for people, especially from teachers. I had a very rough couple of years when I was younger, especially my senior year of high school, for a myriad of reasons. And I will be flat out honest, I would not be alive if it weren't for teachers intervening. And they didn't intervene in ways that would have been destructive or harmful. They would find a reason to give me detention, which would require me to stay after school. And just talk.
Yep.
Basically just opening a space to let me know that there was someone there that would listen, because they knew that the school counselor was not helpful because of other issues that had happened earlier in the year. Like they knew that I was having some issues at home. Some of them understood that I was, shall we say, different from many of the other kids, and that was causing problems, but didn't know if I knew. So like they were very like careful to like just give me space to talk and vent and know that this was a safe space in which I could say anything. I would not get in trouble for it. Like they would still like tisk tisk if I said a naughty word, because but they wouldn't get after me for it. Like they understood like I needed to get this off my chest. I needed someone to hear me in a way that no one else in my life at that point was hearing me. And, they did not have to do this. This was not like, this is what makes it a true act of service. This is not part of their job description. Their job description was to babysit me for an hour a day while I learned, in one particular case, the German language, because my German teacher did this a lot with me. Probably one of the reasons why I still love German to this day, because it was always like, I think you need to practice your verbs, and would give me an administrative detention, which wouldn't show up on my record as if I did bad things, but I basically needed extra tutoring after class. And she would trick me into talking about what was going on by asking leading questions in German so I could practice. And, this, again, not something she had to do. She did not know me outside of class. You know what I'm saying? There was no prior relationship there. She could just see there was this kid in distress and had the compassion to stop and show me that at least one adult human in this universe cared. And that really mattered. Like, I don't know if she understood at the time how much, she actually did for me until I told her later. And that's when I realized, I don't think she realized how much of a help she was, because, like, she broke down into tears, y'all. Like I knew stuff was going on. I didn't realize it was that bad,
Yeah.
But you never know when that like we were talking about earlier, being that listening friend, being that person that just intervenes when you see something's not quite right here. Like one of the hardest acts of service we've ever had to do was convince a friend of ours to go to a shelter instead of going home.
Yeah.
Because, he just had a bad day at work. There was always an excuse for why she would come in with a black eye or with a bruise on her arm or whatever. And it really is something that we have to do sometimes we have to intervene sometimes in ways that are uncomfortable to, one, show that, hey, even if you don't listen to me, I still care. You have at least one person that cares. You know where I live. You know how to contact me. If you need to get away, just come to my house. Right? But people get really stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
And don't see the harm they're doing to themselves or that other people are doing to them. And sometimes it just takes a random act of kindness for them to realize, wait, I shouldn't be treated like crap 24/7?
Yeah. Everett makes a good point. It's hard to receive these acts of service sometimes. I can get a thank you message and remember everything but the thank you. Sethy says, I always enjoy giving more than receiving anything. Tom said,
when I receive acts of service, I usually think it means they care, and it's okay to receive. I'll probably give back later again. Like it's a constant cycle of reciprocation. So it's not like I am indebted and I don't know. It's like it's just something nice.
There's a word that we've lost in English that we used to have that we got from our Anglo-Saxon overlords when they invaded the islands. That is something that we're tiptoeing around here, and the word was frith, and it is often translated trust. Like if you've read Beowulf, you'll often see trust come up a lot in there. In the older language, a lot of times what it actually is this other word, frith. And frith wasn't like, oh, I trust you. It was, you have shown up for me. I know I should show up for you. Like it was this reciprocal, and it was not a commodified relationship. If you went out of your way to demonstrate, I care for you so much, I give you this great gift, you offended the frith between you and the other. If they felt that they needed to show off, and which again is something you can see in, that's why I brought up Beowulf, because I think a lot of us had to read it in school. He gets offended over one of the gifts that he gives, and a lot of people don't understand that. It was a violation of this trust, this frith, that when King Hagen gave him the gift, I think that was his name. My brain is not doing with names today. Anyway, he's so ostentatious about the gift that it's offensive. You're basically saying, look, you owe me for this grandeur that I am giving you. I will expect something in return. And that means it's not really a gift. You didn't really mean to do this. And this was an ingrained part in Nordic culture and in early Anglo-Saxon culture in England. And of course, as the ranks of nobility came about, and it was no longer like the alderman is in charge because we all agreed the alderman should be in charge, and let's bow to the fish person who is sitting on the throne. We stopped pushing this idea of this reciprocal relationship, that you shouldn't have to ask for a return. You should never, in fact, ask for return. You should not have any expectation in the giving. The giving is enough. But this kind of giving, of showing up when called, of being there for other people, of just randomly showing up with, I came into a treasure hall, here's some gems and rubies for you. All of these things that we see in the older stories, that's like, wow, that's oddly generous in a weird way. That was a cultural expectation that used to be there. And we used to have a word for this. And trust isn't the same as frith.
Yeah. Versus now, it's very reciprocal. Like it took Gloria and I many years to realize this was actually part of what was causing real problems and strife in our friendships with other people. Is we just like to, give gifts and stuff, versus they essentially are keeping tally in their head of how much time, of essentially how much value have we added to their life, and they feel they need to equal this out. They feel like in their part that there's an expectation of equal value given, or else, there's a debt. So one of the things we had to learn is to let people give us things. Even though we didn't feel like, we'd really earned it, or, there was a good reason for it, but it was part of their way of equalizing that internal debt they had created in their head in our friendship.
Yeah. The other way that this word used to be translated, and you've probably seen, is honor. He gave great honor to me. I honored him in return. This again was this other word that again we don't have a modern English equivalent to. And it wasn't like, I bow to your greatness, or any of the stuff that the noble class would then instill this word with. It was just this, I am here for you. You know that you can always count on me. And I bring it up just because I feel like this is something that I really enjoy about a lot of the modern Norse pagan revival, is that there are so many that aren't in the scary parts of it, are really trying to reanimate this idea and bring this idea back as a really core concept of who they are. And I kind of want it to be just a universal value of, yeah, you show up for people. You are good to those who are good to you, and you don't expect anything in return. Why would you expect something in return? If I give you a gift and expect a gift of equal or greater value in return, I didn't give you a gift. I give you a voucher.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
that's realizing that, like, that's actually been one of my problems with making lasting friendships down here where I live in Mississippi, is so many people of the rest of this community seem to think friendship is transactional, when no, it's not transactional. That's a business arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
That's a social arrangement. That is not a relationship. And what I'm looking for are relationships, specifically friendship. And I do not want transactional business arrangements or social arrangements that have a monetary value. I am looking for friendships that have a social value. And that has been a major, like, road bump for me down here in this community for making lasting friendships with locals. Is this is not part of the prevailing view down here. And this is part of the insidiousness of the prosperity gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Is that no relationship is free of monetary transactional value. That all relationships must be tallied by a monetary transactional value.
Or else, how do you know you're getting into heaven?
Like, when we're talking about acts of service, some of them are really weird. Like, I knew my friend Joyce, when she was really stressed, I would not do the dishes that day, because the way she worked through her issues was she had to clean something. Like, it was just enough distraction that her mind could mull over what was going on. Cleaning up a space helped her clean up her mind. She would just show up. I knew at some point, like, she's having a bad day, she's going to show up and she's going to yell at me if the dishes are done, because she came over to have a chat, have some coffee, and to clean the house, because her house is meticulously clean already.
Please, Lord, send me a Joyce.
Oh, she's an amazing friend.
Please, I just need one, maybe two Joyces.
Oh, she would show up with beignets and some, like, really fancy coffee that she had just found out about.
I don't even need that. Just, like, vacuum, please. Just vacuum.
She was an amazing friend. But because of this was just how she dealt with stress. She got very fidgety, and she needed to be able to fidget in a way that made her body feel useful. And trust me, if there weren't dishes to do, she would just find a rag and just start dusting everything, whether it was clean or not. She just needed to have her hands moving. That was her coping mechanism. That's how she dealt with stress. And so, one, whether she realized it or not, this was a great service to me, because, I've had a bad back and bad legs for a very long time, and it was wonderful not to have to stand at the sink and do things. But it was also as I learned how she worked and how she processed things, it became an act of service on my part to know, okay, she's having a good day. I should do my own dishes, not let them pile up, not expect it from her, but to start noticing, oh, I got a message from her. This thing happened at work. She's really frazzled about it. She's going to come over and she's just going to fidget around the house and clean all the stuff up. Like, that's just what she's going to do. And she's going to chat with you while she's doing it. She's going to tell stories. Like, this is just, she had to stay busy. She couldn't just sit down when she was in that state. And learning those tips about your friends are really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. And yes, I have missed her every day since we moved.
Oh, to go back to, but I mean, like, and part of it is like we really don't learn how do you receive. Like we learn, we teach kids to say thank you, but we really don't learn. We often don't teach how to be gracious about it, and how to make sure that this is just an act freely given of friendship. Which is why, like most of us here probably, it is far easier to give thanks and accept, sorry, I was looking at the earlier one. It's hard to receive these acts of service, but it's much easier to, give them. Because you really don't know how it's going to be received. Like it is something the allo world doesn't have many good tools for, that I do see the queer world working a lot harder on. It always has. It is part of that consent culture of what is it you want? What is it you need? What is it you're okay receiving? Not everyone is okay receiving financial assistance. For some, it's very triggering to receive financial assistance.
My girl Marty used to give me clothes, and I hated every single thing she ever gave me to wear. And she just could not understand that I did not appreciate wanting to wear the clothes that she gave me. It was so counterculture to my sense of style, because I did not dress like somebody from 19 teens. Y'all, Tom saw these clothes. None of them were socially acceptable in the 80s and 90s. Especially for a big girl. No.
There were frills.
Oh, and oh God, just remember that golf set? Do you remember the pants? Plaid pants. They were in early 1990s. You remember that? It was like, what was it? It was teal, it was a fuchsia, and it was like a dark blue. Do you remember? Oh my God, it was just hideous and so bright. Horrible. And it was a whole 5-piece clothing set of just, hi, notice. And like you could see me from literally 2 blocks away. Like that literally happened when I wore it. My mother was like, your grandmother gave, I was a teenager at that point. Your grandmother gave this to you. You need to wear it. It was very much the bunny suit from A Christmas Story for me. And, Tom and Mom started laughing when I was meeting them at the square. Why were they laughing? Because they could see me from literally 2 blocks away walking down the sidewalk. And I was like, that's it. I'm never wearing this again. And, she just could not understand that I do not want to receive her sense of clothes, that she was this very small, very short, skinny woman. She was always skinny as a stick. I mean, look, I'm going to say it. She looked like a toothpick human. Like she had no muscle. She had no girth to her body, nothing. She did not understand how curves work. And so we could not wear the same things, and she just refused to accept this. And like my entire family tried to explain to her one at a time of, Lori would happy to receive a gift card from her favorite clothing stores for plus size, but do not purchase yourself. This is just an added burden because now she has to return it and find a place that was willing to accept it. Nobody wants this stuff, especially in plus sizes. Oh God, no. So she just could not understand how not everybody is welcoming of her gifts of clothing. So, like, getting that through to my grandmother took over a decade.
I
I mean,
remember.
it is like the joke. We would talk a lot about growing up of the missionary mindset and the problem with that, because missionaries have a mission, and they're going to accomplish that mission whether anyone else wants them to or not.
Yeah.
And especially whether the locals, because missionaries go somewhere else to do their missions.
They don't stay home to do them.
Whether the locals they're going to want them to do this or not, they're going to, and it is very often destructive.
Mm-hmm.
And like that is the real problem with missionaries.
Mm-hmm.
They are there for their own edification,
not for the benefit of local people. Because if they were there for the benefit of local people, they would ask, "What do you need? We will then do this thing that you said you need exactly the way you say you need it." But no, that's not what missionaries do. They do it on their schedule in their own way through their own interpretation of how to administer this need.
I remember when Brian and I first got together having long conversations about certain gifts that I got, because I've always dressed rather androgynously for reasons that did not become clear till much later in life. And when people would give me like a really nice suit jacket for Christmas or a tie,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, is this just the perfunctory, they didn't know what to get, and this is a nice thing you get for somebody who is AMAB, somebody who is a side male at birth, for Christmas, and it's just the gesture that they knew to give? Is this some passive aggressive like butch up bucko because that's one too many crushed velvet skirts? Like, what are you doing with your life? Like yeah, we've had quite a few people in our lives that have given us very, like, is this a passive aggressive gift?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this just they didn't know any better or didn't understand what to actually get and just didn't want to not give nothing? And those are awkward conversations to have. Because you don't want to question somebody's motivation when they're giving you a present, but some people.
Yep.
That's why it's actually good to is in friends groups figure out who is good at what, and usually there's at least often there's at least one person who knows how to give gifts, and so it's just you consult with them. What kind of gift do you think this person would like to get?
Yeah. And also, it is a way to communicate through back channels. Would you want this? Without like really letting the cat out of the bag of who's asking and why. It is a way to do that.
Like, I was surprised to see a skit this past weekend from Saturday Night Live about a what do you call it, white elephant?
Yeah.
White elf one, and the first person gets a candle and she's happy. And then the joke is the next one, the guest star, gets a what do you call it, a cigarette
An ashtray.
And he loves it so much, and he really actually he wants it. Like he's been wanting something like this. And then one of the other friends is spiteful and takes it from him, and he's just like, "Why would you?" And then it's just, "I don't want to take anything else." So takes one, and he gets another one that's also an ashtray, but this one's black. And he's wearing black leather jacket. This is very much his style. And I thought though it did bring up there's no such thing necessarily as a bad gift in itself. All gifts are neutral. Mm-hmm. It's whether this is a good gift for that person.
Mm-hmm.
And the same goes with acts of service. It's a good service you give someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Or especially when we deal with people who have been with some sort of disability, society disability, and have dealt most of their life with being infantilized. You have to be careful what services you give them, or else very quickly it feels like you as well are infantilizing them. Mm-hmm. Or in Charlie's case, where always been androgynous and giving very masculine gifts quickly is a question of, is this just a I wasn't sure what to get you, or is this a subtle hint that I think you're too effeminate?
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, so that's not a very good gift.
Or how you see them. Like,
Yeah.
I find gift giving to be very telling about the gift giver.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, it helps to know yourself and whether you've gotten positive or negative overall reviews of your gifts. And if you maybe it's neutral to negative, to consult with other people about like gift ideas for a mutually known person. Because again, like my question of the gift giver is, why would you give Charlie a tie? Is that how you see them? Have you ever seen them wear a tie? Do you think that they don't know where ties are sold? And that is why they've never worn a tie around you? Like,
Maybe they're afraid Charlie's soul is loose.
you gotta keep the sexual desire down.
But on the other hand, like an amazing act of service that I had some friends do for me a couple years ago, when I was really in a dark place, a whole bunch of my friends, completely behind my back, snuck around and threw me a Happy Mother's Day party. And I did not expect this. Like, I know this is going to be a shock for some people, but I am nobody's biological mother, and so far I have not legally adopted any children. And while a lot of people do refer to me in life as mama, like, it was so out of the blue. And I hate surprise parties, and everybody in this group knew that I hated surprise parties. But this was like, they found the exception and the loophole, because I was so legitimately surprised. Because the thing I don't like about surprise parties is, I had kind of a rough coming of age, and you jump out of nowhere at me, out of the dark at me, I'm going to hit you.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
it's going to happen. Like, don't jump out of nowhere at me. Violence will ensue.
that's true.
But we went into town, grabbed a couple things because we were just going to go shopping, because I liked cooking for them, and we were going in to pick up some things. And while I was gone, they snuck into the house. And when I came back, there were cake, there were cupcakes, there were all kinds of things. They had decorated a little bit, and it was just like, oh my goodness! Like, nobody was hiding, because again, violence. They knew this about me. But I got home, opened the door, and they didn't yell surprise. Again, violence. They were just all hanging out in the house and like, oh, hi, welcome home. And I got to take in what they had done. It showed so much understanding. Like, as far as like when we're talking about gifts of service, it showed so much how they understood me as a human being, the things that I absolutely despise. Like, because they found a way to basically do a not surprise party.
Mm-hmm.
It had all of the good things about a surprise party without all of the things that, violence. And that shows so much care on all their parts. Like, I don't know if one person had the idea and everybody, like, because again, and when receiving a gift, if somebody's bad at receiving gifts, don't ask questions like that. Like, you don't need to know. Again, nobody's scoring points here. This isn't a game. This isn't a video game. I don't know whose idea it was. I don't know how the idea came up. But it was so meaningful. And as somebody who's going through such a bad patch, like, just seeing, like, they saw everything that was going on, that I needed a pick-me-up, and just wanted to be like, hey, we see you. We see everything that you've been doing, Because, again, and I keep saying this, but I feel like one of the greatest acts of service is just showing the other person, I see you, I know who you are, and I feel like this is what you need right now, without being preachy or domineering or controlling about it.
I remember one time my mom was overwhelmed, and so my dad he took some money, put it in her hand, and said, "Go get some ice cream." So my mom left the house, and we all scrubbed the house down as fast as possible while Mom was gone. We couldn't do something for Mom. She's at her wit's end.
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes it's emergency service.
Well, on that lovely note
No, I just came to my
of
brain.
like, yes, of truly a loving act of service for a mom who is on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Mwah. Yes.
Yeah.
How about we take another breaky break? And when we come back, what shall we talk about? Anybody got anything?
How about we just do fun things to do for service?
I
Okay.
have some.
Service ideas, yes.
Why does that
Especially
surprise me? It doesn't surprise me at all, Laura. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sitting there listening to the Lord, like, ask your friends what the friend that you know that's like the great gift giver, what to give people. I'm like, you can't ask Laura what to get Laura for a holiday present. It totally destroys the surprise.
We'll see y'all in a few minutes. Make sure you got something to drink and a snacky snack. Meebity beep. Meebity beebity beebity beep. Moobity boop. Moobity beebity beebity beep. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, hello.
Hello, hello. How did everybody's sprinty sprint go?
Good.
I was working on formatting with the original Trouble with Angels opening couple scenes when Kitty was like, no, you don't need to see the screen anymore.
That doesn't sound familiar at all.
Like literally trying to look around to like, no, why? I got through the basics. So with RTF, when you're converting it to a different software, there's always those weird chops of the line. So that is as far as I got was fixed. I don't know. How many words is it? What is the word count? With 2,700 plus words, 4 pages. So I got that fixed, and that was as long as the kitty was like, no, you're done now. So that is what I got done. How about the rest of y'all?
I had a brief text message exchange with my sister. They still don't know if she needs a boot or a cast, so she's having to make do. And she goes in tomorrow to see an orthopedic to figure that out. So hopefully figure something out. But
did realize that more than likely Kitty visited me because I need to use my inhaler. So talk amongst yourselves real quick. Yes, Tom. Talk amongst yourselves while I use my inhaler real quick.
I will say, anybody who puts any good woo out into the universe, if you can put some woo out for my sister Chris, because I feel like somebody cursed her house. Like she's living through a Lemony Snicket story, and it's just a series of unfortunate events, one thing after another. So I wish I lived closer. Yeah. Oh, on top of everything else that's going down, in the storms that we had, a tree fell down and just destroyed their car.
Ooh.
Like, it's just been a series of like random unfortunate events with a "Hey Joe" at the end.
Hey, Joe.
Okay. I've used the inhaler once. I have to give it a minute before I use it a second time. So. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Yes, my kitty, I theorize, used to be, in a previous life, was a good hospice nurse. Because she likes to remind me when it's time to use my inhaler.
I have 2 cats that I refuse to believe are cats and think that they are actually my familiars that came from the woods to take care of me. Mm-hmm. And they know when something is about to be wrong and try to get my attention ahead of time. Like, they know when my mood is changing. They know when I'm about to have a muscle spasm. Like, they know my body better than I do, and I'm just really bad at listening to them. Like, the one cat will jump right up, insist to stand on the muscle that's about to go haywire, and start making biscuits on it. And if you touch her, she will attack you. She's like, "No, I gotta fix this. You're not doing anything about it, you stupid human. Don't you see there is crisis impending? I need to fix this because you're not going to." And I love my familiar kitties.
One day, we'll have a kitty again. They don't exactly get along with 3-year-olds.
Some do every once in a while, magical ones.
Yeah, Solomon would have but Solomon.
3-year-olds don't understand consent.
Like, I've taken care of toddlers where there was a cat in the house that just, oh my God, totally treated like a rag doll. And they're just like, yep, it's the thing. Totally
I'm pretty
cool.
sure my friend's cat Solomon was a dog in its previous life because it played fetch. It wagged its tail when it was happy. Like, it did all the dog things, none of the cat things. It was not raised around dogs. We don't know where it picked up the dog traits. Like, it had to be from some a priori existence. And it was like the oddly perfect, like, all of heaven and earth moved to get this cat into their house because she wanted a cat, he wanted a dog, she hates dogs. So they ended up getting a cat dog by accident. So she got her cat, but it was everything that you would want in having a pet dog.
That's
in one
cool.
animal.
Hello, Michael.
Gloria and Tom, did you plan to wear similar colors today?
No, I don't know what. Tom saw what I was wearing. He was not wearing that shirt.
I was just trying to find something.
We've done this
Because at first I was gonna wear another bright orange shirt. It's like they're gonna think I'm wearing the same one. It's like, no, I got two different ones.
He has two different ones. So yeah,
I
like
wore my one and only NaNoWriMo winners t-shirt for 4 days in a row last week. It's fine.
Nice.
I was just like, I am not changing.
I'm a winner, damn it!
I worked hard for this.
Mm-hmm.
Respect.
Sure, we'll go with that instead of I don't want to do laundry.
Right.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Amen.
Kitty has returned to get into the same.
Yeah, because like she saw me use my inhaler and she's like, okay, bye. Like seriously, y'all, she's a nurse. She was a nurse. And about as Carrie is like, okay, you taking your meds, bye. I don't care anymore. They're like, we're done. I'm gonna go back to the nice warm man. Hold me, Papa. Hold me.
Like, seriously.
Aww.
Yeah.
She just wants to curl up and put her face into the crook of my arm.
Nice and blurry.
Yeah, let's see if I can.
My cat would sleep in the curve of my legs until I had a very bad mattress when I was still living at home. And I also didn't realize at the time that I had sleep apnea. So I would wake up a lot. So she would curl up in my knee. And at some point in the middle of the night, I would move and not realize that I roll on top of her until I hear meow. And then she'd climb over me and she'd just do that little extra dig in her claws as she's walking over me, which was so much fun in the summertime. And get down, get a drink of water, maybe use the litter box, and then climb back up and sleep in the corner of the bed.
You know, she's hiding her face because it's too bright in your room. She likes it cave-like, dungeon-like, you know?
I've got one little lamp.
Yeah, and she's like, it's too bright. I turned away.
Don't we all want it like dark and cave-like? Is that just me?
And it's, I think, a 60-watt equivalent.
So we were going to talk about examples of ideas for acts of service. Laura, go for it.
So sometimes it could just be augmenting other things.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we wrap Christmas presents, there'll be characters on the wrapping paper. And so we'll do speech bubbles on every character, every snowman who has been cut in half by the scissors. Like, It's just so fun, and it makes it feel like they thought about you. It's totally personalized. Like every card that I get from my mother has writing all around the edges. Like they are definitely personalized cards. They're super fun. They're so cute. There'll be like inside family jokes written on them and stuff. But just sending cards randomly or a handwritten letter. Hello, Roy. Yeah.
That's why I wanted to get back into like pen pal stuff, because getting that kind of stuff is just so fun, and getting something in the mail other than bills and junk, it's also nice.
Like my sister and I would write letters back and forth as different book and movie characters. So we would pretend to be somebody else and write a letter and do a wax seal and send it off, open it up, read it, write as a different character responding to the letter and send it off. We had so much fun. I still have them. They're in a box. Yeah. Like, I got letters from my mother that were literally written on napkins from when she and my dad were out to dinner. She's like, thinking of you. And just and smooch it with her lipstick and mail that to me. Like, I love it. So
why is it that I always want a Hallmark movie made about your family every time you talk about them? Like, I need a documentary series. Like, I need this in my life.
Yeah, it's so fun. My mother made us each a quilt when we left for college. And so we got to pick out all the fabrics and the pattern. Like she would be like, here's the options of the patterns that I can do with the time allotment. And so we had input, and she would make our, I still use mine right now. It's been since 2008. So
Now I want to get something. Be right back.
It's holding up real well. It's gonna last forever. But yeah, just like one time I was studying for the ACT to try and get into college, but it was also Comic-Con coming up, and I wanted to make a costume for it. And my mom was like, I'll make a deal. You study for the ACT, also the costume for you.
Ah, nice.
So it's like, thank you, Mother. So my poor mother was sewing me an anime cosplay that she had no idea what it was. I'm sitting there studying for the ACT while the sewing machine is going. So just also one time I had just taken my AP test, and I was so stressed out that year. Like it was not a fun time in school. And so my mom actually pulled me from school, and we just went out to Panera.
Nice.
Like, thank you, Mother. Because I never skipped school. And so, like, the only time I would get out is if my parents took me out. So, like, it was so nice to have a break, and that my parents paid attention enough to notice that I needed it.
Yeah.
I know it's very selfish of me to ask this question, but does your mom need like an adopted thingamajig child thing in the family? I mean,
thingamajig child.
Yeah, my father used to do that as well. He would just see that, you know, I was having a rough couple weeks, and he'd take me out of school for an adventure. And that is, again, often where I ended up at homemade zoos around Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, y'all. And the panhandle of Florida. Was he'd let me ride the bus to school like I was going to school. And then he'd pick me up like after homeroom, because homeroom was when they counted attendance. And he'd pick me up and say like, oh, we forgot that she has a doctor's appointment, and they called to remind me, da-da-da, or whatever. He'd make up something. And then we get in the car, and I'm like, what doctor appointment do I have? And he's like, You don't get in these clothes. We're going to a zoo. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, we would go to somebody's redneck ass zoo where, it's like, this is my crocodile Herman. He's snappy, but if you give him a steak, he will be your friend and follow you around. Do you wish to throw him a steak? And I'll be like, yeah. Can I put it on a stick and like actually hand it to him with a stick? He's like, yes, let us find you a stick. And then it's like, and then yes, Herman would literally follow me around, a 30-year-old crocodile, follow me around the rest of the homemade zoo where I get to meet Herman and Sherman, the giraffe. Sherman was in a bad train accident for a circus, so he has a partially broken neck. That is why he wears an enormous neck brace. I know it looks like PVC piping, but it is in fact industrial pool noodles. Like, y'all, I can't make this up. This really happened. And I'm like, wow.
I am so glad to know I'm not the only one that lived Goofy's childhood from a Goofy movie.
Yes. And like on and on. And then I'm like, ooh, who's this? Like, this is Louise. She is a cat that adopted our zoo. Here are some treats from the tuna can I opened this morning. Give her some treats. She will also ride Herman around for the rest of your trip here at the zoo. Okay, I want to see this. And Dad's like, damn, I wish we'd had some film left in your mom's camera. Like,
like one time also, I was homeschooled for 2 years in middle school. Me and a friend together. And so my dad's mom, my grandma, lived in LA. And so she was like, come stay up here for a long weekend. We'll go to all the art museums and we'll study Degas and like all these different artists.
Yeah, that's
and it's
cool.
like, heck yeah. So it was around Halloween and my mom made me and my friend little care packages of Halloween goodies and stuff to take with us to my grandma's house. We went on the train. So we were big kids. We went all the way on the train by ourselves. We got picked up by the grandparents. And yeah, got to just travel around the museums for a couple of days. Like, this wasn't school curriculum. It was just cool.
Good times, yeah.
Like, thank you, Grandma. My grandma was a painter too, so it was her wheelhouse.
Yeah, my mom would wake me up on Saturdays where she had a little extra money, and she's like, "Wake up, we'll go garage sale." And I'm like, "I don't have any money," and she's like, "Do you see this $5 bill? You get it if you get in the car." And I'm like, "Do I also get a biscuit?" "Yes, we're gonna go by Hardee's and get biscuit breakfast." And we would do, and it would just be her and me. She would not load any of the other siblings up, so I would get her undivided attention. Which meant, it's like, what we go talk about? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Mom's like, what have you read lately? Tell me about your books. Even though we're talking about chapter books, y'all, I was in elementary school. Mm-hmm. But, like, it was, like, time with my mom that when we weren't having, like, arguments about chores and things, we were not in the home, which is where all of mine and my mother's arguments live. Mom and I don't really argue. We never argued much outside of the house. So like all of our disagreements and our differences of opinion were mostly domestic, with the one exception of my mother's homophobia, which she would occasionally bring up. Oh, there's this channel, Bravo. I love them so much, but I wish like people, like men stopped kissing each other so much. Like, ma'am? No. And like have to dress my mother down at McAllister's restaurant. But other than that, like, we never had any real disagreements out in the world. And, like, so I looked forward to spending time outside the house with my mother. And it was something that I still have lovely, valued memories of these experiences with my mother out as we would adventure together in the world, like going garage sailing all over Hill and Dale. And, that sort of thing. That is honestly where she like told me all about feminism and like what it was like before, in the world and so on, like from her perspective, and made book recommendations to me. And we had that time together, but also where like we would be shopping for my siblings. She's the one who introduced me to, well, now that you know about the Easter Bunny, you get to be the one to pick out your siblings all their treats for their Easter baskets and make their baskets. But you can't
I
tell.
loved Easter baskets. We'd always get a book and candy. So like
I'd get to pick out. So like I could get my siblings toys. I could get them whatever. Like mom would give me a budget for each of them. And I knew what they really wanted. And it was like, can we like move the budget around? So like I knew at one point Tom he was in elementary school, lower elementary school. He really wanted binoculars. Why did he want binoculars? I am not actually certain at the time.
I'm going to assume bird watching.
You think that, but I think there was this very pretty lady down the road. I'm just saying.
I didn't say I wasn't using that word as slang.
I had my suspicions that my brother's sexuality was burgeoning. But like, nevertheless, he really wanted binoculars. My parents did not understand how much he wanted binoculars. And I remember seeing an Easter basket that actually had toy binoculars in it that appeared to work. Like, literally, I'm lifting up the Easter basket because it's got that clear plastic seal.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to look through it to make sure that they're real binoculars rather than just like truly dummy binoculars. And like, Mom, how can we get him this? And like, we just shortchanged my little sister, you know? She's a kid. She's like, 2. She's not going to notice. And my mom's like, but like, no, he really needs the binoculars. So like that sort of where she is giving me this time to be of service to other people. Like these are like cherished experiences. Because my parents are very much into being of service to people without them knowing. Hello, gorgeous.
So yeah, I don't have a lot of the happy family memories that you're talking about. Like most of my happy memories involve some form of benign neglect. Like my boyfriend's dad convinced my parents to let him take us down to the Smithsonian's, and he just dropped us off at the subway station with some tickets and money and said, I'll be back at 6. Have fun, kids. And we got like the run of Washington, D.C. And we were
our father did that to us once, dropped us off in Memphis, got us a hotel room at the Holiday Inn Express, and said, bye, I'll be back in 2 days. Here's, $100. Bye. And left us to just wander the streets of Memphis, really Germantown. And we it was still fun, but yeah, it was a little scary.
But yeah, like you, I argued with my mother a lot for various reasons, but we never had any Asian cuisine in the house because of my dad served in Korea and had PTSD. So we had to be careful what food smells and stuff were in the house because, you don't want to set that off. And so every Saturday, she would take me out to a Chinese restaurant in town. And we tried all of them until we found like our favorite one. And like that was our thing where we always made time. And even when, I would come to visit, we would go out to a Chinese restaurant. Like that was just our thing. That's how we connected with each other. That was, I guess, the safe space that we had carved out. Like you can't be angry when you've got decent egg rolls. Like that's not a thing. And like it got to the point where Dad got jealous of this and worked really, really hard with his therapist so he could start going to Chinese with us. And so we still didn't have Asian food. But
that's actually really sweet of both your mom and then your dad. Like, that is like work on their part of like where your busy mom is having to carve out time and figuring out, and then you have this little thing together. Then your dad going, y'all are having fun without me. I want the fun. And like willing to do the work to therapy to handle it, like that's really sweet.
And yeah, that's one of the reasons why like Chinese food is so my happy place, because like that's where we really came together as a family. And like when like I'm tearing up now just thinking about it, like all of when service is not always what you do with a person. It can also be things that you do off screen for a person.
Yeah.
Like making Easter baskets.
Yeah, like making the Easter baskets. Like Dad really like hammering down with his therapist so he could join us at the Chinese restaurant. Like like the things like that really
just making time.
Yeah,
making
time. Like I do know the friends that I try to make time for, and then they never take me up on it. They've never got time. It's like, it's strange how this works out. Versus the ones who do, of like, they will make time to show up. They'll, figure out a way. It's like, I haven't seen you in a while. Let's visit again.
Calling you up out of the blue and saying, "Hey, dessert and liquor, our treat," like Bestie did Saturday night.
Yep. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I have issues. Having people like Carrie who are not afraid to ask for me to do things, because my biggest problem, because of my childhood and because of my life, I often feel useless. Like this is the whatever the anti-love language is. This is like the language my depression kitty speaks. Is you are useless. Nobody needs you. Nobody wants you. Like might as well just go into the darkness and never come back. And when people like Glory or Carrie or others are like, "Hey, would you mind helping me with this book cover?" Because that's something that they know I like to do for fun. Like I just sit around and like making pictures. Like they might, and I bring this up because not to like embarrass somebody's face who's turning very red while I'm saying this, while looking for the book cover. I'm pretty sure this is what she's doing.
Exactly what I'm doing.
Like you probably don't realize how much little things like that. Like it may sound like you may feel like you're being selfish. Like, can you help me make this logo? Can you help me make this art? When you guys took me up on making the music for this, like that may to you have seemed like me doing an act of service for you, but really, and this is where like when I was talking about understanding other people's psychology and how they work, this was really y'all doing an act of service to me, because you were telling me like you are useful. You are someone we trust to be able to do this thing, and that really means a lot to me. And I know some other people that are like that just want to be of service, but don't want to be pushing themselves onto others, and have this sense of inadequacy or that thing that I struggle with my entire life of self-esteem, right? Being asked to help. Sometimes asking somebody to help you can be an act of service to them because they no longer feel like they are not useful. I remember there was a friend of mine who lived upstairs from us when we were living in the apartments, and she was in her late 70s and lived by herself. Her husband had died. Her kids were all, off living their lives. Every now and then her daughter would drop off her grandkids basically for her to babysit so she could go live her life, but not really. And I found her life endlessly fascinating because it was so different from mine. And she was such a mother at heart. You know what I'm saying? The kind of people, she loved cooking for people and taking care of people. And going up there and spending time with her helped her, because I remember the day she just like broke my heart and made me cry. It was like when she told me, like, you made me feel useful again. I thought nobody needed me anymore, but you were up here, you would. I know you don't like my Lawrence Welk, but you watch it with me anyway. You know, like I would participate in the things that she enjoyed, and because this was a whole world that I had no access to because, you know, it was so she was just a white lady who grew up loving polka. You know, I had this was so like from my little Ozark life that I had come from. Like, what is this exotic land of which you speak? Right, but just being there for somebody and helping them feel like they are not discarded is so important for us to do. And it's a thing that's easy to take for granted because we often don't know that we're doing it, which is why I highlighted some of the things that people on screen have done for me in that state, because you don't think asking for something from someone could be an act of service, but for some people that just really like to give, just want to feel useful.
Yeah, providing the opportunity for service.
Yeah.
Yes. That can be a wonderful way to show people that you care.
Michael CB Chen says, I've been in the streaming side of AuthorTube since October of 2018. You always struck me as one of the most intelligent streamers around, and certainly useful, Charlie.
Thank you. This is just a defect in my brain from, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I was raised and the circumstances that I came through. Like, it's why I personify my darker thoughts, because I know they're not true and I know they're lying at me, and I just yell at Bob. But yeah, it's
some
really
of it's also that we weren't always raised we kind of hear the difference between Charlie and Laura, and sorry, Charlie, to use you as the therapy session. But also sometimes it is just part of how we're raised, to whether we recognize the acts of service as love or not, always in our own personal story.
Yeah.
Laura definitely was taught by her parents plenty of recognizing those acts of service for what they were, which was love and affection, and that she was always in their mind, even if they weren't always together. And then we hear Charlie talking about their childhood, and what do you call it, from the outside perspective of just events, we still see plenty of those same behaviors from Charlie's parents of making that time and effort and acts of service to show that love to their kid. But, it was a rough childhood. And if you don't learn to recognize those, and so literally write those into your personal story, all humans run their own personal story. This is part of being human. To note, this was love. This was how my parents were showing me love. They were doing these particular behaviors out of love, not out of obligation. They did this for love and wanting to actually share time with me.
Yep.
Then if you're not thinking about it and you're not talking to others, it's easy to go, oh, there wasn't a lot of affection shown. It's like, there was affection, but it wasn't always, you weren't recognizing it always, and it wasn't always being remarked as affection and love. Versus, I know of a lot of people who go to therapy, and getting them to go therapy specifically to get their PTSD under control, to do something with someone else, is a lot of effort to get PTSD people to do it all, let alone to talk with their therapist about.
Oh yeah.
They hate to discuss with their therapist about PTSD, let alone effective coping strategies in their daily modern life. It's like they will do almost anything in this world just not to get up to that particular subject.
Yep.
So that's like Laura and I were
Especially
both
former military. Oh, no, not dealing with the PTSD. No.
And that's what Gloria and I were both noticing, like, oh no, that's a lot of love.
Oh yeah.
Shown. Even if there's a lot of other places your father wasn't able to show his affection for you. That one particularly did show them.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I want to join this too. I want to have this fun time with you.
Yeah. I mean, for me, looking back, like many times, I definitely had a mixed bag with my parents. They were complicated people. But
Yep.
like one of the things that they did listen to me about as a child, as a little child, was I don't know time with you with my siblings because my siblings are freaking young and annoying. Like they always demand your attention. You can't hear me over the littles. I never get to talk to you and have one-on-one conversation because they're constantly interrupting because our whole family has ADHD. And like this, I just feel like I'm alone in this family, and I just don't see why I should want to be in this family if I don't get to have meaningful conversations with any of y'all because my siblings constantly interrupt, which y'all, you have no idea. You have no idea.
That's the challenge of parents with little kids too. Like Joe and I had a day out together, and it was running errands and doing Christmas shopping. But we sent Anna to his parents, so she had an overnight with them. But we got to like go out and have coffee, and we when we grabbed Subway afterwards, and Joe was like, I get to have a whole glass of iced tea to myself without a little human running up to me going, ah. Like, and we actually got to have like conversations and talking and laughing and without being interrupted. Mommy, daddy. And she gets so mad if he kisses me.
Oh, the
Like
jealous.
he'll kiss me on the cheek and she'll go, no kiss. And so yeah, we got to do all of that, and it was just so nice. Like I love my daughter; she's adorable and she's fun. But having that grown-up time was long overdue.
How have we not talked about volunteering to babysit for our
Yeah.
friends that have kids? Like the ultimate act of service, especially when they're of that age where
And
they're
then when
hellions,
we
no
went
matter
to the
how
melting
good
pot,
they are.
then when we went to the melting pot restaurant, the waitress is like, "What are we celebrating?" And we're like, and all four of us are like, "A night with no kids."
I know we were talking. When was it? Friday or Saturday? About how part of the reason we were looking at a cat more than a dog was we can leave the cat alone for a while, but we also know we can ask a few of our friends to come and check on her if we need to be gone overnight and make sure she's got food and stuff. Versus the dog, it's a little bit trickier. You need to find someone who can hold on to the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, that is an act of service of being able to look after someone else's stuff while they go do something else. And recognize that is real friendship there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, by the way.
And not taking it for granted.
Yes, we have
Man, I'm right
friends
here.
that just basically like live at our house while we were on vacation to both like house watch and make sure the neighbors didn't do anything terrible, but also because they live in a situation where they can't have pets and they absolutely love pets. So it was like this joint reward where we get to know that our pets are being taken care of while we're all off visiting the in-laws, and they get like all of the cuddles.
Yeah, I like to Eva's.
Traveling while having a dog is hard. Bigger ask of friends. Yep.
Yep.
Walking a dog is an act of service. Yep, it sure is.
One of my friends was seeing her mom on a cruise a few years ago. It was when Joe and I were first dating. And she was so worried about leaving her cats for a week. And she didn't really like she had friends who would come over and check on them, but she preferred that somebody actually stay at her apartment for a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I can do it, but I'm just going to let you know that on this day we're going down to Comic-Con for the day. And she's like, that's fine. But That was the time I got no sleep because her two cats would get up on the bed and fight each other.
Yes, gladiatorial combat displays.
At
And
11 o'clock at night.
It was the little. I don't know what time in the middle of the night, but it was late at night, and it was the little female who was like half the size of the tabby, beating the living daylights out of him, and he would sit there and go, and I'm like, dude, smack her, and she'll leave you alone. Don't put up with it.
Who's the boss now?
Yep.
But he was the youngest, even though he was the biggest, and he very much had that kitten mentality, and she was just like, bah, 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 bah.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I think we've got to go so I can walk this puppy.
Okay. Good luck, and I hope Roy finds street bread, but I hope you have a good walk.
Yeah.
It's kind of mixed up. Bye-bye.
Right.
So before we drove down to Columbus that morning, I was like, can we stop and get a very large coffee? Because I didn't sleep much. But yeah, so.
But yeah, there's so many ways to be of service, of that people can appreciate and should show appreciation for. Of like, it's not obligation, and we really should get people out of this habit of this transactional. The only part of seeing that sort of does need to stay transactional is building up friendships. And it's kind of like, when people talk about going on dates, do not tell people everything on a first date, because the thought everyone invariably has is, if they're willing to tell me this, what is it they're not willing to tell me yet? And the same goes for friendship, of you build up over time trust with each other. And, this frip of, you do little things and then you gradually build to bigger things and bigger things. So you always feel like peers. Because that is part of friendship, is you are equals. Neither ever feels bigger than the other one. And
a lesson that took a long time for a friend of mine to learn is, don't tell a guy how many kids you want on the first date. And then you wonder why he doesn't call you back. I want to get married and I want to do this and I want to do that. I'm like, you just met him.
Nah. Tell him, because he probably just wants a hookup. Nah. The ones who actually want kids are like, yes, I would like to also discuss how many kids I want and the ideal makeup in my mind for like how many we have and what pacing and so on. No.
Let's play the game of the future.
Yep.
It's like murder, only less people die.
In theory. No promises made.
I mean, it does depend on the family you come from. I mean, I've heard of a few where it's like, no, we need to have 5 kids because one of them's going to something tragic will happen to one of them.
Yeah.
Whether another one is involved in it is unsure, but I know my family.
Yeah, I've known people like that. Who are like, my family, you got an 80% survival rate to adulthood. Like, we're just accident prone, and also we make stupid decisions that lead to death. So, if this is how many you want in adulthood, we have to have this many to get to that for sure. To be guaranteed that. I have, like, around here, people have, I have had friends tell me this of like, that many accidents, and then like you know them for a couple years, like, oh my god, y'all do. You might as well get a punch card for the ER. Good lord.
Every 5th visit, get a free coffee and donut.
Mm-hmm. And a visit from the social worker. Yeah, I think like for me, acts of service are really about listening first and hearing where does somebody have a need or a desire that I am capable of fulfilling with an act of service. And then the secondary question is, will they accept it? Because people could say how, oh, they definitely want somebody to watch their kids on a Friday night once a month so they could go out with their spouse. And then when I offer, they're like, I don't know that I want that relationship with you. And it was like, what? Bye, Everett. What are you saying? But I've had people turn down my babysit even though I have literally decades of childcare experience because they didn't want that kind of relationship with me. And I'm like, you mean the relationship where they're like, where you know how my children are? Like, I don't have you on the pedestal you seem to think I have you on, though. But yeah, people are weird. Guess what? Guess who I'm not close with? Those kind of people. Because you have to be willing to trust me with who you really are. I am not here for the mask. I am here for the real person underneath it. But that's me. Other people like
I
that.
wish you lived closer. You could come babysit Anna anytime.
Oh, believe me, I'd be taking her out to those children's museums because I love children's museums. They look at you
Cleveland
funny.
has a good one.
They look at you funny when you show up without a child. They look at you real suspicious like, and it's like, I just want to play with the stuff. It's like, I need a child. Who's got one? We also have some really awesome children's museums down here. And like real cool stuff. And it's like, does anybody have a young child available for rental? It's not as weird as it sounds. Just want to go to the zoo. Zoo Boo's having a thing. And again, they look at you funny. If you show up to the Zoo Boo event without any children, oh, where's yours? Oh, somewhere over there. I lied. Anyway, I'm done.
It was free Monday. I could have, and her eye doctor appointment was canceled. We could have gone to the zoo today. Dang it. Why did I think of that?
You got to make notes to yourself.
You got to make a note. What to
That's
do
what
with
phone
Anna
alarms are for.
on Monday. Yeah, on Mondays, what to do with her. So,
I left from the boot.
like, it has surprised me. Like, I've known a surprising number of parents who what they most want is not childcare. Like, they don't want from me childcare. They want someone to go to a coffee shop and listen about whatever they want to talk about. That's what they most want because in their personal life, they don't feel hurt. And it's like, okay, well, I guess it is pumpkin spice latte season. Park it and tell me all
in
about
general is just like you take that for granted when
You would not believe how I've gotten harassed. You'd think as a woman I would not get as harassed for not showing up with a child, but. And it's not like I'm talking to other children. I'm not here to like charm your child away from you. I do not care. I just want to play with the displays. Anyway, enough of my rant. Why aren't regular museums like that? Okay? Why do adult museums suck so hard?
One of the other really good things that you can do, and this is something that friends of mine have taught me over the years, as somebody who tends to be the mother confessor for like everyone I know, giving space where like, let's do something ridiculously dumb, stupid, and non-consequential because everyone has been drawing you in on all the drama all week. Like, sometimes just the dumbest thing is the best thing that you can do for people because life appears to be serious. We have this really bad infectious disease in our society called adultism, where we pretend that it's a good thing to not have an imagination, to stop playing, to stop doing the things that actually make us human and help us actually learn how to solve problems.
I wanted to bring this up last week during the Quality Time show because this is still just such like some of the best memories I have. About what was it, 2010? every time I hung out with my sister and her best friend, we had to do something that at least one of us had never done. And we kept a scrapbook about it. We were taking pictures and I would print those off. And we all wrote in the scrapbook. So we went mini golf. We tried restaurants, different types of restaurants that we had never tried before. That was the first time I had tried Thai food.
Oh,
And we had tofu for the first time, and that was the unflavored tofu.
why did you
That was
do
just
that?
so
Right,
wrong.
Michael.
We went to a German restaurant. We went to a drive-in. We dropped my sister to see Twilight Eclipse. um, we went to. I know my sister's friend bought a deck of tarot cards at one point, and she was like pretending. She was like, "Ooh, I'm all woo woo. I can tell your future." But yeah, making those memories and just acting ridiculous was just. I'm seeing those every summer. I see those memories pop up on Facebook. Like, when's the next time we're going out?
Yeah, with our friends, we really often don't make enough effort for those non-consequential, enjoyable times together, where no one needs to be responsible, where we can all just have fun in our own ways, and yeah, get to make new memories to remember each other with.
If you're the kind of person like me who needs an instruction manual on how to have fun, I highly recommend Chip and Dan Heath's wonderful book, The Power of Moments, which is a survey that they did with sociologists and psychologists on what makes certain things memorable, what makes certain things stick in your mind, and then like checklists on if you want to make something special, here are some things that you can think about. How would you do this? How would you do that? And it's not like a party in a box where it's like, do this and everybody will have fantastic memories. It's like questions to probe to manufacture those moments that may not be happening spontaneously for you. You know, it's someone's 47th birthday. What would make this special? They've had all the different kinds of parties. Well, here's how what modern psychology has taught us makes these kinds of events of friends and families coming together really stick in people's minds. What would be meaningful? How would you be able to do that? And it's a really interesting book in that it breaks down the psychology of memory and what makes things stick. And it was really helpful for me to read as somebody who, like I've said on numerous occasions, my brain does not like remembering good things. It really doesn't. It's like, oh, that was a passing fad. Something horrible will happen in a moment because, you know, how I was raised. But, you know, getting to read this and being able to see, oh, well, we don't have to wait for that serendipitous moment of something random happening. We can actively make the moment special. We can throw the kind of party that will be memorable for us and others. We can have that dinner. We can have that date night. We can have there are things that you can do that will help make these things memorable. And it's a really good book that goes into, you know, I wish I could give you the tips and tricks from the book, but it's not a tips and tricks kind of book. It's here's the psychology, here's some questions you can ask yourself to try to figure out what would make that available to you in these moments, you know. And I also really liked it for that it wasn't just a here's the 10 things that you can do to make any party memorable. You know, it really does dig in, but you know, it's one of the things that, you know, I talk about with a lot of people because half my friend group is greatly older than me, and the other half is mostly younger than me. And I hear it so often of like, I've done everything. Like, no, you haven't. You've never watched a single thing on Disney Plus. Well, I don't know that I would like anything there. Yeah, but you haven't done it.
Mm-hmm.
You keep saying you've done everything. You've never done that. You don't have a YouTube account. Have you ever watched a Twitch stream? And they look at you like you're crazy, and it's like, no, you keep saying you've done everything. You haven't. There's this whole world of things out here that you haven't done. And it's easy for us to forget to make new experiences. I see this a lot in the older generations that I interact with, is like that this very, I've done it all. There's nothing new for me. I can't change. I can't learn. And if my father and grandmother taught me anything, you can have an adventure no matter what your age is. You can make meaningful change to your life no matter what your age is. And we haven't really talked about it because we've been talking about love languages for others, but not to be all RuPaul about this, but how are you going to love somebody else if you don't love yourself first? Like, sometimes you need to do acts of service for yourself. You need to do that self-care. You need to find those things that bring you alive.
Is that what we should talk about in January, Glory?
What brings you alive?
Well, I mean, self-care.
Self-care is more than shopping, no matter what the capitalists tell you.
Talk about the languages of love. How do you show yourself love?
Our lowest rated episode ever.
The one everyone stays away from.
Yeah, nobody coming to that. You know that, right? Nobody coming to that.
I know,
Have you
because we've talked about it before.
Huh?
I know, because we've talked about it before.
That's not why they're not coming.
No, I mean, we've literally done this show before. And,
Oh, yeah, and then nobody came.
like, you want to talk about one that triggers people.
Or they've told themselves they're already an expert in this. They don't need to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's topic number 1. You ain't the expert you think you are. Part 1. Because if everybody on Earth could learn that one lesson, whatever you think you are the expert in, oh, honey, there's always a bigger fish. Like,
yeah, I do believe we discussed that on, was it Friday or Saturday, of someone rage quitting because they thought they were the expert on this, and they found out they weren't. And there are others that it's not even that big a deal to them either, whether they're the know-it-all or not for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the one thing that I have learned about myself over time, and like the greatest gift that I have ever gotten from anybody, is learning that I'm 46 years old now. I still don't know who the hell I am. I probably never will know who the hell I am, because I am a process and I'm always changing. And every time I get a fixed attitude about, oh, I have figured it out, this is the key to me. Oh, it's wrong. It's definitely wrong. It's inaccurate in every possible way. And it's also true when you think that about other people. Like, you can have a good read on how other people are, but that doesn't mean that you actually know how the other people are. And that's...
Yeah.
But that's... I get where you're coming from, Tom and Glory. Like, yeah, lowest rated episode ever, because people think they're experts in themselves, and we are not. We're actually... It's like a tree trying to explain a forest when they've never seen it from the outside. Like,
yeah,
we don't know what we are because we're stuck inside our own heads.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, like, what was it we were talking about a few weeks ago? We've all got special talents and stuff.
Everybody has these superpowers, and they're absolutely unaware that it's a superpower, because they don't know how rare it is to be intuitively good at this thing, whatever it is. and that everyone else is not. Like, people can't just close their eyes and just their hand automatically picks the most right perfect fruit in a bowl or in an enormous pile. But that is literally what I can do. And I was absolutely shocked. And I was in my mid-20s when I learned that not everyone can do it. And in fact, no one else I've ever met can actually do this. I thought it was just my mother was dumb and that she couldn't do it because she was dumb. Like my mother just, she has no sense of smell. And she's just bad at it. You know how teenagers are. And I thought it was just my mother, but it turns out, no, no one else I've ever met can just literally close their eyes, not even think, and then just automatically, instinctively grab the perfect fruit from any pile.
My father has a dolphin-like echolocation, but it only works on perfectly ripe melon. Like, he can tell you from across the store, okay, go over to the pile. It's the fifth one over, third one down. Grab that one and bring it over here. Like, just send you over there. Like, he has this weird echolocation thing that just pings out, and he knows exactly where the perfectly ripe one is.
Yep.
He doesn't have to go over, doesn't have to smell it, thump it, be near it. He can just, and it's that one over there. Just go give me that one.
But what I was talking about was everyone else on the panel is like, but I don't know what mine is. I don't have any. And
it's like everybody has it. Everyone has multiple superpowers.
And that's sort of where, you do need your friends. Good self-care often starts with having your friends there with you to help. That's kind of what's going on. I think at least what sort of spawned that trope we see in movies of teenage girls and young women getting together for, a sleepover, and invariably, there is skincare and there is self-care. We're sharing our knowledge of, just because you think, I know how to put lotion on. Not everyone.
But do you?
But not everyone actually knows.
Not everybody knows how to rub it in. There are some people who think you just pat it on and then you let it dry. Like, oh my god!
No,
I know.
That's not how that works.
No.
It was this African American girl who kept dating white guys, and this guy was so sure he knew how, and it was bad. It was real bad.
Yeah, you just pat it on and let it dry, and it takes an hour or two. Like,
what?
Also, why do you have frosting levels of lotion? and yeah, I brought that joke up to some friends at work, and then I found out they all also just pat it on and let it dry for an hour before they go to bed. And it's like, that is not how lotion works. You got to rub it in and break up those collagen structures so your skin will renew.
And also the fat. You need to break up the fat, sebum that has solidified on your skin and get it emulsified with this lotion, or it will not actually reach your skin.
Have you ever had lotion rubbed into you by a black person? Oh my god, it is an experience. They are breaking up all your connective tissues.
It's a semi-violent experience.
You're trying to give me flashbacks to my drag mom.
You're like, don't move, it might hurt more. You're just like, okay. You're just like a cat, being petted by that one kid. You're like, okay, I'll just wait.
I will never forget the look on Barry's face.
I think that is partly why they say, what black don't crack, and it's the melanin. It's really how they rub, because they're really renewing the entire skin process and stimulating all of the layers of skin for it to do its reparative work.
I'll never forget Barry.
I'm not going to say melanin is not part of it. I mean, look, I'm not going to. I don't freaking know. I have no melanin. What do I know? Other than.
I will never forget Barry holding me down in the chair and just sitting there going, "Oh, honey, if you are not basted, ain't nobody going to want that turkey." And just pushing the lotion in, between the cells. This makeup is not going to sit on you right if you are not properly moisturized, girl. No. No, you got to work it in.
Let me put it this way. If you want to know how somebody puts lotion on themselves, watch them put salt and butter on a turkey or chicken to roast. If they pat it on, yeah, they're patting lotion on. Versus, I have seen people prepare a chicken or turkey to roast, and I'm like, you have thoroughly molested that bird. Yes, you have. That
Do you
bird,
get
there is
jealous
no
of your
hole
husband
that
every
has
time
been
he makes
unmolested.
You could hear the giggles in the
Yeah.
chaos giggles in the
Like,
background.
seeing them
Right.
just rub the sea salt in under the skin, and I'm
Mhm.
like, you have lacerated this flesh. That is how you know that they know how to put lotion on. I am definitely not
Great.
encouraging anybody to use salt on their skin like that. But I'm just saying, like, are they really trying to rub it in or not? So, yep.
Jen.
I feel the same way, Charlie. I always thought I'd know at this age, but nope, still figuring that out.
Well,
Your
see, that-
friends really help you figure it out. Like, what is your secret superpowers?
And also remember, we change over time. This is one of the greatest lies that our society has given on us, that we have a fixed self and that we are just going to be that person forever. There are little things that change about us. There are things that I love doing now in my 40s that if you would have asked me in my 20s to do it, I would have yelled at you because I did not enjoy them. They were not things that were a part of my world. They were not things that I ever would have done. And a lot of it, to me, comes down to this weird solipsistic spirituality that came out of the 60s, where, oh, I can just meditate and find enlightenment on my own. No, honey, the Buddha said go as a group. Go together. You learn who you are in groups.
Also, Zen is found in the streets. It is not found up on the top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
They were very clear about that. Zen is found in the busy streets, out there living your life, being with the people.
And that's where, like, that is the act of service that we do for everyone, is we are showing each other who they are through our interactions with them. Like, that's what all of our interactions are. We're learning stuff about ourselves. We're learning stuff about others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one thing that I say all the time, let's make meaning. It's not let's find the answers, because
Let's make meaning together. Yeah. Let's make sweet harmony. Oh, let's make meaning together, baby. Yep. Anyway.
Because that's what we have. That's the one thing we can hold on to. And getting together and not having that who's right, who's wrong. You want to talk about an act of service. Just listening to people, accepting them for who they are, one of the greatest acts that you can do to anybody, because we are conditioned to, oh, let me fix you. Like, it's baked into especially the American culture. It's in all of our movies. I will find the perfect man and then I will make him perfecter. I will find the perfect woman and I will make her perfecter. I will find the right friend group and I will make them perfecter. Like, this weird thing, and I'm saying it awkwardly on purpose because it's a thing that doesn't exist.
Yeah, like, there's no perfect, and also there's no perfecting a person. We are imperfect beings. All of us, always, forever. Forever.
And ever. But this is the lie that we get in our culture all the time. It's every friendship movie is we're all going to get together and we're going to fix the ugly one who doesn't know how to put makeup on and doesn't know what contacts are. We're going to fix the other ugly one who just doesn't know how to comb her hair, because these are the two kinds of ugly people in movies. Am I wrong? Like, I want to teach.
No, because there's never genuinely plain people.
Right. So we're going to fix you by teaching you how to put makeup on and teaching you how to comb your hair. And we're going to buy everybody fancy clothes. And we're all going to feel good now because we have fixed everything. And that can be a fun story to watch. But that's not life.
No, it takes years to figure out how to put on an eyeliner. I'll say that. if you have an unsteady hand. The hand-eye coordination of 3-year-old is what I was diagnosed with in college. Thanks, college.
I just didn't like things by my eyes. Like, when I was in community theater or youth theater in 5th grade, we did our like winter musical was the Mikado.
Mm-hmm.
So we all had to dress like we were Japanese.
Right.
My mother trying to put dramatic eyeliner on me at 10 years old, and I'm blinking and my eyes are watering,
What is
and I'm
what
like afraid
eyeliner?
that she's gonna stab me in the eyeball, and she's like, "Stop! You have to be on stage in like 2 minutes." That was like being in youth theater was my first big experience with makeup. I had no desire to wear it till high school. After that,
Well,
from
good news,
7th
Carrie.
grade to when I started
You know,
late high school.
Carrie, I have wonderful news for you. If you ever want to wear kabuki makeup again, there's no eyeliner in it. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Real kabuki has no eyeliner. That is not a thing. The Japanese don't get it. So you're fine. You just smearing white paint on. You're good. Maybe putting in some eyebrows. It depends on the actual kabuki. But hey, you don't have to worry.
I gotta find out when the next goth ball is happening in Cleveland, and go up and kidnap Carrie, deck her out in the Susie Sue realness, and be like, "Welcome to my nightmare world, Carrie."
In the after party, I still have that photo of me and my grandparents after the play, and I will pull it up and you can see what my costume looked like.
Don't make me dig up my old dance costumes. They were wild.
That's the only photograph I have from youth theater. The other the tape got destroyed because it was in the basement and flooding. But I remember my dress from when we did Pirates of Penzance. I was in 7th grade. It was bright orange, like this orange. I looked like a pumpkin. Because that was when I started gaining weight with my thyroid. And I looked like a walking pumpkin. I hated it. Kind of, even though that was my favorite show, I'm kind of glad the tape got destroyed.
I think the single greatest act of service anyone ever did for me was when I was in would have been middle school, high school age, somewhere in there. I wanted to learn ballet so bad. I was obsessed with ballet, and I went and I sat down with the teacher. And luckily, she knew me from other things, and she just looked at me and said, "I love your enthusiasm. It's wonderful, but you are 6'2" and have weak ankles. I will not be responsible for your death."
Honest.
I mean,
she was not wrong. Because sometimes telling people, oh, maybe no, you don't need to break every bone in your no, just no. It is a great thing that you could do for some people. The look on her face was priceless, though, because she thought I was there for a friend or something. Like, she didn't realize like I was there for me, and then when she did, it was that, oh, how do I do this gently? No, there's no way to do this gently. Like, you could see the thought process working through her eyes of, I'm just gonna have to say it, aren't I? Yeah. And then she started talking to me about insurance rates and everything. Like,
oh God.
She both read me right and read me right.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't need broken toes and broken ankles. Yeah.
Just wow. Okay. still thinking about that. Any final thoughts about acts of service? Nope. We all good?
They should always come from a sense of compassion and love, and not obligation.
Or trying to fix people?
Yeah.
Or polish them up? Oh, if you just wear a little makeup.
Yes, trying to fix somebody else is not an act of service.
You have such a pretty face. If only you'd lose like 500 pounds.
I'm just worried about your health.
Do them, and let's see. Laura says, do them and don't expect something in return. Good advice. Good final thought.
Oh, and the biggest one is make sure you have the story straight before you come in to do like an intervention on somebody.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because like that's one thing we haven't done, because I've had a very checkered past and I have a lot of health issues, but games of telephone are real, and like I have not been in the best health over the last couple of weeks, but it's been a series of unfortunate events. I had an allergic reaction, then I caught a stomach bug, then I had another thing. This all got turned through a story into I am dying and refusing to go to the doctor.
That's weird.
Because all of these got conflated into one thing. And this happens a lot in my life because it has a lot of series of unfortunate events periods in it. And having to sit back and like, I get your righteous indignation that I am slowly finishing myself off by not going to see a doctor because of all of these health problems, except for one thing. They're all better now. I do not need your intervention. I am fine.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get to the end of the story. And there have been numerous occasions where I have had people, out of the kindness of their heart, feel like they needed to do, like, oh, I need to step in here because this bad thing is that. Through the act of telephone, you got a very wrong understanding of what's actually going on here. And I'm actually like, you care, and also a little insulted that you thought that that's what was going on. So, while yes, don't try to fix people, but also if you feel like somebody does need an intervention, make sure you know the facts before you go into the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say, though, every therapist that's actually qualified and, accredited will say the same thing. Don't do interventions. Interventions don't work.
Yeah.
That's something Hollywood created because it looks great on video.
Mm-hmm.
Actual effective intervention is one-on-one communication or small group communication where you just say, what's going on? It's a conversation. It's not an accusation.
Just to give you an idea how messed up my life is, I stub my toes a lot because I am clumsy. And I cracked a toenail. Through a long series of, I don't know how many iterations it went through, it got into somebody's head that I was doing crack.
Okay.
Like, apparently only the word crack survived through the long chain of telephone to this one person.
Oh, dear.
Who knows that I have a checkered past. I have danced with many substances that were not good and healthy for me, and just assumed that I had decided to go off the wagon and just smoke it a crack. I had a bad toe.
Wow. Just
don't trust everything that you hear.
I once had a group of friends throw a party at my house without talking to me. Like, they literally, one person showed up with like mixers, another person showed up with some liquor. Like, they all showed up within an hour of each other. Just, hey, I thought I'd drop by, see how you're doing, and then go to the kitchen or go to the dining area and like unload their stuff. Like, essentially, they all brought their assigned part of the party. And after another hour of this, I was like, so all of you had the same idea to drop by today, and all of you brought something different. But together, it is all the elements of a party. It was like, I don't know, 8 or 12 people total who showed up. And how did this happen? None of y'all talked to each other. They eventually admitted that, yes, like several hours later, they finally admitted that, yes, they saw me as being sad, so they decided to throw me a party to cheer me up. And I'm like, okay, one, thank you for caring. Two, I am not sad like in a party can fix this. I am dealing with PTSD from my childhood. I am currently under the care of a therapist, and I am processing through. What I really needed, if any of y'all had bothered to frickin' ask me, is for someone to hold me and feed me food and just be here and watch movies with me so that I am not alone in my spiral thoughts. That is actually how one or more of you could have helped, but not together. This is giving me anxiety. I thank you very much, and I'm going to my room, and you can all let yourself out because some of you have the key to my house. Bye. And so, like, it is, again, are you being a missionary?
Yeah.
Or are you actually being a friend?
Yeah.
Try asking someone. And if they say, I don't know, said, would me coming by and just hanging out with you be okay? And try that for an hour or two. If they seem agitated by you being there, just leave. Just leave. Just leave. But if they actually seem comforted or at least more relaxed, okay, that's a good sign. Maybe they'll open up more and tell you what they really need. Such as, please just feed me. I just can't muster the energy to feed myself right now. I am very sad and I am having a lot of spiral thoughts. And it's hard for me to, like, you know, operate in the kitchen without just having thoughts. So it's one of those of, yeah, the party just made it worse, quite honestly. I was so mad at them. Like, I understood that they loved me, but I also never wanted to talk to any of them again. And it was my therapist who talked me down off that cliff. They're young. Glory, this is just a problem with having friends who are young. That they think, like, she's like, they're like dogs, like puppies. They just think getting together and having a puppy pile will make it all better, and they don't understand having deep existential crisis because they're young and they haven't had their first. Just forgive them. And I'm like, I think about it. Next week, she's like, have you forgiven him? I'm like, like, she's just like, I was a bit ticked off. Don't trigger my social anxiety while I'm already having problems.
Right.
Although I do feel like all these do bring up another little one of, like, okay, you know, I hate to talk in negatives, but if someone, though, doesn't want to tell you, if they're like, you figure it out yourself, you know, for yourself, or worse, they tell you, you should have known, you should just be able to tell, even after you asked and they were silent, or they told you not to and you did as they, you know, requested. Do not play along with the codependence game. That is bad behaviors already. That's just feeding a bad beast. It will just bite you later.
Yep.
If they tell you something and then afterwards they're like, well, why'd you do that? And you're like, because you literally asked me not to.
Yep.
Then just
nothing good ever comes from playing the codependent game with someone else. They'll never thank you for it later. They will resent you for feeding the beast. When they get out of that spiral years later, they will resent you. Never, ever feed the beast. Give people the space they say they need. Okay?
And don't think you know their healthy coping mechanisms better than they do.
Take people at their word. If they tell you they're a bad person, take them at their word. If they tell you they need to be alone, take them at their word. You can say, do you actually need to be alone, or is this some weird thing where you say you need to be alone, but really you need someone there to feed you burgers. Like, you need to tell me which, because I don't do subtlety. And if they're like, no, I really do need to be alone, it's like, okay, best of luck. Here's the number for the hotline. Bye. Because sometimes people really do just need space. You know, like they genuinely, that is actually the healthiest thing. Just give them space. Stop trying to fix people. There's no fixing. Nobody's truly broken, even when they feel it. And nobody can be fixed, even when they think if like they just work harder or just fix this one thing and they'll be fixed. No, that's not how humans are. It's all a lie. It's a lie we tell ourselves. It's a lie we tell each other. It's all lies. And that's how you know. But in the end, just, you know, listen to people, take them at their word. And don't feed the beast. If that beast can't feed itself, it can go move on.
Amen.
But you can always offer it options, hence the, or is this like a where you say and feel like you want to be alone, but you really need someone there to be silent, but feeding you hamburgers? Or Lorna Dunes.
And I've had people go, I kind of like, I do want to be alone, but also if you could drop off a burger, that would be great. And it's like, write down your order. I will go get it. I will drop it off. Do you want me to just knock and then walk away? I can do that. That'd be great. Or do you need me to put it on a platter?
As one of my friends likes to say, are you being Eeyore or Pooh? Do you just want everybody to go away because you don't want to face what you're like around other people? Or do you have some honey that you just really don't need other people to be around while you eat it?
That's fair.
What kind of antisocial are you right now? Are you Eeyore or Pooh?
So, yeah, like, because, like, I've told Tom before, quite honestly, like, if you love me, I'm going to close this door. You will not open the door. No matter what you hear inside here, you will not open this door. You knock on the door if you have food, and you tell me through the door where the food is. You walk away. And then now we have text messaging. But yeah, it's like whatever you hear, you do not open the door. I don't want to have to worry about you opening the door. Tell me now if I have to lock this door so you will not have to deal with the temptation of opening the door. Because my mother could not resist a closed door. Oh my God, so infuriating. And Tom's like, oh, I have no problem leaving a closed door closed. I'm like, good. And he said that until Cassie. And then he's like, but Cassie at the door. And I'm like, can you not hold Cassie? She doesn't want my comfort.
I'm just saying, when Jedi Fallen Order comes out, I may seem very antisocial. I'm just being Pooh. Got my jar of honey.
And I don't want anyone to see how I eat this honey.
Oh, first playthrough is going to be so rough. I am not good at video games.
So that's that. I guess that would be my final thoughts of like that. Yeah, take people at their word. So next week, I don't know what we're going to do.
Laura, you forgot the H, I hope.
Yes.
I don't think she forgot it. Our options are physical touch or words of affirmation, i.e. compliments. Which one shall we do, y'all? Anybody got opinions?
Compliments are the devil. Let's do physical touch.
Hey, we're going to leave compliments to the last one. That's everyone.
What did you want to say for the last one, Tom?
We'll do compliments last because that's going to trigger everyone. Might as well do that for the new year.
All right, so we're doing physical touch. All right.
Yeah.
I have some neat tricks to do physical touch when you hate physical touch or the person that you care about hates physical touch, but one of you needs to express it. I have many tips and tricks.
Okay, Susan, you can be quiet now.
Yeah.
Hello, Susan Sarandon over in the corner doing the Rocky Horror.
So, I don't know what anyone else has to bring to physical touch, but that is what I have to bring of how to get around the physical touch needs of one and not the other.
Oh, I have a lot of things from a massage therapy thing because there's a lot of things about how do you touch as a form of affection versus, negative touch. They had to go over all of that in school. Some people don't know how to touch with a positive feeling.
Laura's like, I can bring bags. Speaking of poo.
No, it's all of the Frozen I've been enduring with my daughter. I like warm hugs.
All right. Well, be sure to tune in next week. And remember, at 8 p.m. Eastern, in 15 minutes, we will reconvene in the Unicorn Council Discord server in the Voice Chat Clubhouse. Come by, hang out anytime. We'll be there till at least midnight Eastern time, probably. No promises, though. It's chaos. Who are we kidding? It's chaos. It's always chaos.
And I have a chaos demon.
What are you saying?
Are you talking about Brian?
Yes.
Or are you talking about yeah? All right.
I said that, and he said, "What are you saying?" He knows what I'm talking about. No. Ooh.
Just because I'm over here going, the first touch is an accidental bump, the second one, I bite you, just like the cats. I taught them well.
My life is chaos.
Lordy. So, yes. So, anyway. Yeah, if you're into that, definitely drop by. Hang out. It is perfectly acceptable to lurk in the voice chat and use the text chat if you wish to communicate, but you're not really verbal. Well, bye, everybody. See you later. Bye.